last season. If you're coming to FNCS finals, you're showing up, you're making a statement, that is your mark, that is beginning your legacy, and it's really important these teams take advantage of this opportunity and just show up and show everyone just how good you are.
Love that. Absolutely spot on. I mean, Vivid as well. You can see here as well, particularly positions 11, 12, and 13 were right on the cusp there, breaking into the top 10. But, you know, we were saying about, you know, we need a lot of teams to perform today. We talked about predictions early on as well. I was watching out for the guys that I've chosen, DJ and Yomza there. 11 places they shoot up there. We said they had to go for high ground. That did happen, trying to maintain that. Larson pressed them. It didn't happen. Obviously, DJ going early, but Yomza managed to get some points there. But as we can see here, there's a real big gap now, SBG. Placement points versus eliminations, 41 for Peterbot and Byler. That is a bit, you know, 3 points per elimination. That is a big game changer right now.
Every game, it seems like they're just racking them up. They had no business getting as many elims as they did last game. I mean, Vivid, how does that even happen? They're just slaying out.
I have no idea. 10 eliminations, game number 1. I mean, it is absolutely crazy. But at the end of all this chaos, we saw TabG and Quad pick up the victory royale, right? And this is amazing. They are not done yet. We saw in EU, actually, Hen and Queasy, I believe they came into day number 2. They were in like 41st place.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this, they ended in the top 10. So a great performance out of Quad and TabG, who, as you can see right here, in this specific highlight, they are in 31st. But surely this victory royale bumped them up a lot more than that. And if they keep playing like this, we could see one of those comebacks like we saw over in EU.
Big risers, and that's what you want to do. I mean, you can't control what happened yesterday. All you can do is show up today and perform your best for TabG and Qua. Coming in out of semifinals, qualifying, they had a great semifinals performance, and now showing up once again. We see those 2nd through 4th place, no movement yet. They have to stay consistent. They have to continue to push Byla and Peterbot to try and grab that top spot. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's sure going to be fun to watch.
It certainly is indeed. And we've seen as well some big points in other regions as well. Peterbot and Byla going, you know, they're all guns blazing, doing very well. But it's quite big, isn't it, Vivid, as well? A new POI. The Collider is not one that, you know, has not been around for long. We've seen many teams try and position themselves there, not necessarily faring well, but they seem to be doing an amazing job. How difficult is that as a player to get a new POI and do this well a job?
Well, the great thing about the Collider is that it was actually put right smack dab in the middle of the map, right? So you are actually pretty much guaranteed to be in the zone in some sort of way, so they can kind of just base up there and get a lot of their early tags there. But then also when they're making rotations out of there, they are so smart because they know what their POI has to offer. That air vent, they always look back at their POI when they rotate out because they're like, we know players are going to rotate out of there, and that's how we're going to go to surge. And that right there in this game number 7 is where we saw them get a lot of their tags from.
Yeah, quick adjustments, learning on the fly. Hey, these guys deserve it. They've been playing so well, and hey, we can keep giving them praise all day, but I think we got something coming up next, Adam.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, Command Cavern as well. We already noticed a POI that gets good numbers as well. Good teams elevating themselves to the top, and we've got 3 teams there right now in the top of the leaderboard as well, which is looking very, very exciting indeed. But it is time for game number 8. No waiting around. The battle bus is fueled. It's ready to roll. Let's jump in and let's find out what happens next.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We've seen 7 games played, and so far, the question is, who on Earth or in NA East is going to stop Peterbot and Byla? Because right now, they're a runaway train just picking up momentum.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we still have a bit of a race between, you know, 3rd and those other players trying to play catch up, but up in the number 1 spot, it is definitely looking like the crown is going to them. And let's be honest, a huge performance day 1, a better performance already to start off day 2. Outperforming the closest competitors is the way you want to do it here. And there's anyone that deserves it, it is basically players that play like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, their individual performances are fantastic, but they're getting help because all the other top teams are going down early. They're not as consistent and not capitalizing. And here we go. Game number 8. Will the tale change? Will we see a new protagonist rise up and be able to take the story out of their control? Will somebody enter their villain era and say, we can handle this, we'll do it ourselves? But so far, the answer is a big fat no. They're looking fantastic.
If you want to win this tournament, if you want the number 1 spot, I'm afraid the only way to do it someone has to contest them. You have to clash against them. And as we all know, you don't really want to do that because there's a reason they're playing well. There's a reason they're up there finding success. It's not just the drop spot. It's what they're doing in endgame. It's the clutches. It's the rotates. It's piecing it all together.
And right now, just the entire Clown Fiesta that has been going on North Sleepy has been such an interesting thing because it feels like almost every single game we have somebody going down before anybody really even properly touches their feet. We saw it yesterday when Diego and Bizzle were over here, and now Pamstu and Fatch, they get free shots from the Lighthouse, and they're going to put pressure onto Slax and Clarity G.
And that is all due to that battle bus. The bus coming north to south allows Pamstu and Fatch to touch down first. They have that high ground tower. They get a weapon. And literally, we saw this yesterday with the south to north bus, where the team hide and seek across the water, got to hit those shots down early as well. So Slax and Clarity G, unfortunately, have been up, I would say, the punching bag from round to round every now and again, depending on that battle bus. But you have to be ready for it, right? These are reasons why you need to adjust on the fly. And I'm sure if there's anything you get to take away, it's a lesson learned. These buses matter.
They have to clean up those initial drop spots in the drop map, and what we mean by that is based on where the bus is going, you need to know where to drop in order to land safely and not get just lasered by some of these other teams. Because again, we're in the NA East Finals. These are the best of the best in the East, and they're going to be able to hit those shots. And with just 5 games left, particularly with how far ahead Peterbot and Bila are, if anything, right, like, and you know you're not going to catch them, you hope they just keep stealing points away from everyone else. So that means one late game dramatic could send you from like 12th, 13th place all the way up into a big tens of $1,000s change in payday.
That's the thing, right? There is so much to play for here. And this is why I'm really calling today, or this entire finals, the new era. Walkers, Scare Bear, Peterbot, Bila, Pamstu and Fatch, even them on the bubble here in that conversation. Pledge and Teo playing exceptional. We have players that have really been proving, earning their stripes this last year, and they're doing it time and time again.
What specifically when it comes to Peterbot and Bila, though, and looking historically, there are players who have had very good solo runs. Peterbot in particular, one of the stronger individual players, because he plays a little funky. He plays a little different than the rest of NAEs. You can see the calculated aggression. You see a little bit of sneaking coming around, and once he's now find a duo who wants to play his way, everything is just clicking. And again, we talked about how, they had a monstrous day one, and they were able to put it all together. I mean, their qualifier run where, again, same teams roughly who were competing against them in that first qualifier because nobody had been pushed through, they were able to put up a 10-point better performance than this. And you can see Peterbot in first in total elims right now. 28 eliminations by himself. That is a ridiculous number.
And you saw the standings. Literally, the team elims just in general, they are outperforming, outshining everyone right now. And again, at this point, we have to continue to highlight them. That's what this platform is all about. Show them love on all socials. I mean, if you were looking for some new players to check out, why are they finding success? There's a reason they're doing it this season. So far is theirs. For Scare Bear and Walkers, though, they have sort of slipped down, right? About 5 placements or so. So this is going to be an important game for them. Keep in mind as well, they're doing it out of this contested drop. Command Cavern. This is not an easy drop spot to play.
No, but we have seen duos have a ton of success around here because while Command Cavern, there's a ton of teams who land around here. There is so much loot, so many little nooks and crannies you can just quickly dip into, dip back out of. You can find the fishing holes and you can get enough to make the rotation possible. Now we're going to swing on over as Trashy is actually just hounding Peterbot right here right now.
First time we see this early clash like this. First time we see any team give them any sort of pressure, but we don't typically see Peterbot and Bila explore outside their drop spot very often, not this far. This is a different strategy from Peterbot and Bila, and they might just be paying for it.
Honestly, it looks like they're just trying to get hip to hip and ready to take this fight because they recognize the fact they're getting shot from 2 different angles, but it doesn't look like 2 different duos. If they can isolate a 1v2, you might just be feeding in more points to the top team.
It is Trashy and Glaze. They have these nice wide angles. Trashy's out in the open, but, you know, ultimately this is going to play into the favor of our team leading the game right now because what will happen is they're just farming Surge here. They're farming tags. They're farming this free fight almost early enough to be isolated where there's no one to distract them and actually put their 2 bullets in to the conversation, right? So this is working out for them. And, you know, all in all right now, I think they've decided maybe it's time to push in.
And there is a team way up there in that almost pseudo Porta Fortress type build. You can see all the ramps being thrown out to just give you better vantage angles. Just trying to get a little bit of the action. They want to just throw the tags in there. The one thing Peterbot and Violet have been very good about, though, is covering the sides. And right now they're trying to make that push onto Trashy. They recognize that he's isolated, and Trashy's like, I don't necessarily want any of that. And he's going to double back and make sure Glace has a line of sight to be able to help him.
Keep in mind, Peterbot is, of course, rocking that mythic AR. It does so much damage. One of the other benefits, again, that we highlighted up at the top of the show, our analysts of Vivid and SBG did honestly, just an exceptional job of breaking down the strengths of their overall draw spot, the Collider, this latest addition to the center point of the map. But onwards with Clix and Day here. The flags are out. It's time to push on in. And Clix is trying to set up the fight right now. I like what I'm seeing here. A little bit of aggression. They get on into the box. They start to set up what would have been a nice little ambush. They already have a singular elim, so not too bad here to set them up. But all in all, they have a long tournament in front of them. They want to jump up to that top 10.
And the story for the NRG duo has been they want to play aggressive. They want to be taking these fights, which is where they found a lot of their success. But taking a little bit too much chip damage, and then the defensive fights not allowing them to get above surge kind of presses the pace. And they are very much so a momentum-based team. When they're rolling, when they're going downhill, when they're taking these fights after fights, they feel really good. But if they're not able to get it started, you can see there's a little bit more hesitation. There's a little bit more frustration in their gameplay.
I'm catching big deja vu from game number 5 yesterday, where Walltaker and Cold played the bridge. They played it so well. They looked for teams fighting in the general area, and then they just slid on up and basically injected their sense into that conversation. But hold up. Day is going to cut off an opponent here. Now looking for the fight. They have him exactly where they want him, but someone sneaks in from behind. It's not looking good. The punishment has been dealt. Day has to back on out. The walls have been grabbed, but hey, he buys himself some time.
Good disengage there, making sure he threw the ramp up and he retreated back into already built builds. Even if they weren't his own, it means he's not going to end up getting chipped through. But this is what we've talked about with all of their fights, how they want to take the aggression, but they're not necessarily being cognizant enough about covering their 6, making sure that they're defended from behind. You can even tell, hey, 1 open edit, 2 open edit, Skyline there. Clix recognized that and he said, I'm going to back up a little bit.
A lot going on here. No reason to risk it all right now. Let the shots come through. These are, of course, small wins in their own, guys. Think about it. These tags, we know the implications of them. You're going to need a lot of damage. Clix again, playing a little sneaky right now. A lot of these are their builds, but is him and his duo on the same page is the true question now. It does seem like they decide, you know what, we have an advantage here, but there's another team now beginning to fire on in. That's not looking too good here. The odds are starting to slim down now as players begin paying attention to them. You know, Day and Clix here just really haven't found an area or a position to steamroll teams the way we would normally do it. This is honestly a duo that plays off the momentum, will more often than not just drop a team quick. We don't really see the battles draw out like this.
Right now, we will see the third zone revealed on the left-hand side of the screen as Nico gets on the board. Let's go, Polarize and Nico. Don't stop shooting, and that's a big one for them as they're able to then get the confirmation. Blake will get onto threats as well. Day going to toss himself in a cone. Nice little defense, and I mean, Sphinx had a pretty solid day 1 yesterday as well. Was up in that elimination counter after the first couple of games. Granted, him and DeQuentin did slow down after the fact, but we've talked about this is the best of the best in NAs. All of these guys can fight defensively if they need to do it, but right now, Day trying to get aggro on the walls, but he doesn't have a shotgun.
I love this play right here. I love how they're working together. Day and Clix in unison there to support one another. One's taking walls, the other's putting out shots there. It was very nicely done, but DeQuentin and Sphinx have managed to honestly put up an excellent defense here and buy themselves some time. The cost, though, it's heavy. Already, material count about halfway. Heals, even less than that. Quanti and Larson listening to the battle going down after that last big game for Quanti and Larson. I mean, they're right back in the mix of things, seeing themselves in endgame. In the feed there, Kanata looks like he picked up another elimination. We haven't really seen too much of Kanata and Agers in the early game, but they have continued to find success here. And I love that because their game 1 and 2 yesterday was just abysmal. It was sad to see them have such a strong drop and honestly not have the strategy for Surge, but they have honestly fixed their strategy coming into about game 3 or so, and it really has shown. But there is always more to show, and that's why we have SBG on the line.
So with Storm Surge coming up, I wanted to talk about one of the primary Storm Surge strats. We see players going and prioritizing bushes to avoid having to sit in builds. Then while players are outwardly, openly taking shots, you just fire back. They don't know you're in the bush. You get a bunch of damage nice and easy here. And that's what Trashy was able to do.
Some fantastic chained headshots there from Trashy to make sure Surge isn't going to be threatening them again. Storm Surge, as we get the warning on the right-hand side, we'll see where the update is for Agers and Kanata, as we will also get a nice little replay of where he was able to find his elimination. You can see the shot coming through it. I mean, just able to immediately burn through Nexi. That was impressive.
That flick was insane.
Right?
Oh my gosh, he moved and just bam, it was quick. Here we have Peterbot and Byla. Big problems. 90 below. Make that 116. A little 20 added into the wound here. 22 players have to go down. We talked about pacing coming out of Game 7. Being a little quick for NA East. This time, though, everyone said, okay, put a halt to the brakes here now. We have to slow down. We have to figure things out. Maybe reevaluate this pacing here. Peterbot and Byla have to decide now. The most important thing, who do we battle? Where is there a team close enough for us to honestly take a fight, or will someone open up an edit? But ultimately, you have to hit the shots.
But they are very far into the center part of the zone. There's nobody really near them who they can realistically just push through, as Polarized continues to keep himself on the board. That's what we talk about. Bring back that day 2 performance. And don't forget, as Peterbot takes a bunch of damage, if you're on the lower part of the table, right, you want Peterbot and Byla to keep hoovering up as many of these points as possible, because it makes your chance for pushing into the top 5, into the top 3, that much more viable. And right now, 175 below, only 20 seconds on the clock. You have to get a bead on somebody and get some rifles, or you need to fly and start pushing. The problem is, when you do that, the teams who are in there, they're just going to wait. They're going to edit out, and we've seen this happen so many times. The team who's underneath decides, hey, we have to get wall to wall, but they wait way too long, and now they're in a tough position. This was the only time Peterbot and Byla struggled yesterday, and the only time they've fallen outside of the top 25 in the entirety of the set lobbies of the FNCS. They got 26 with 1 elimination in Game 4, and Storm Surge ripped them apart while they're trying to rotate and get wall to wall. This time, they're trying to close that gap now, but here comes the Surge.
And this is the worst we've seen their loot pool as well. Only just a couple minis, a couple of big pots here, really not much for the quick heals. Byla is going to get just destroyed by some incoming fire there. Peterbot has to put the team on his back. What can he do? There's nothing that he can there, and he just gets melted by Glace in a blink of a moment. As quick as a flash, he goes down, and I'm sorry to say it, the writing's on the wall. Byla, you do not have the HP. It's all or nothing. He needs to pull a miracle out of the hat, and it's not going to happen this time. There's only one team that stands to benefit here, and that's Cold and Scented, and unfortunately, Wall Taker and Cold are in a world of trouble themselves.
Yeah, Wall Taker needs to be Wall Holder right now.
Oh, no.
Being pressured. He's already knocked. He loses the entirety of his shield. That's getting called out real fast.
And it's Polarized and Nico there, a team that has just found their footing out of nowhere. Also, Bizzle and Diego adding into the mix here. So we have all these teams that, they just say, Game 8, I'm ready to pop off here. I need to come on in here and make a statement right now. Let me get some points, and it's up against some of our tops.
Right now you can see a little bit of space being given, but I do want to just kind of harken back to what we saw with Peterbot and Byla. And you mentioned as Clarity ends up finding Cold in the feed. Storm Surge is still ticking over right now, 25 damage every 5 seconds to 3 of our duos, with Demonics and Nick being one of them. But you mentioned Peterbot and Byla's loadout. Peterbot has been absurdly successful when he has the shotgun in his hands. He didn't have one. He dove in, he got that, he was able to break through the wall with the SMG, and then he was sitting there hip firing with a burst.
And that could be the result of Bizzle and Diego taking a little bit of their loot, kind of forces them out. They're playing a new strategy, a new game today. We didn't expect them to even go against Trashy out there in the field, right? And Glace, a team that is scary, especially in the early game. They're a scrappy duo that will play well in those early game engagements. So a lot of resistance being found this time around. And that could genuinely change the story. I mean, we talked about how they've been so unstoppable, but if you don't put points on the board for 5 games, I mean, it's going to open up for everybody.
And again, just going back to it, this is the first time in the entirety of the FNCS, going back to the qualifier, the set round, going back to what we saw yesterday, where Peterbot and Byla have been dropped without a point. No eliminations, no placement points coming through, as we just hit our first placement threshold of top 35. Every team is still on their feet. We'll get 1 point. The next point will happen at top 30, and then we'll get cascading placement points in the top 25. Now, if you are Walltaker and Cold, you have to take advantage of this. If you want to push up, if you want to close that 90-something point gap, this is your opportunity to do it right now.
Such a rare moment has just kind of presented itself for Walltaker and Cold here. A team that has been the most consistent we've probably ever seen. You just said they have not dropped a game where they didn't earn any points since the beginning of the FNCS. It happens now in finals, in day 2, and then you have a team that's right on their heels that are actually alive and honestly quite situated, so there's a true chance to at least close the gap. Get up there and see what they can do to play and fight for the #1 spot. Kanata and Aegis, I have to give them so much respect. Talk about resilience, keeping their head on the shoulders. Aegis and Kanata got 43 points in their first 3 games, and then 99 points in the last 4, truly showing that they have adjusted their strategy and they figured it out. We saw it from Pledge and Teo. That is what is so great about the FNCS, seeing the minds of the pro players come into work and then develop these new strategies on the fly.
You see Clixton Day on the right-hand side of your screen looking to get a little bit of action here. They will have a tough rotation, not because of the teams who are in between them. Well, honestly, it might be that too, as Oliver, OG, and Jeff posted right up on top of them. But if you look at the geography, you're basically going straight into a funnel, and you really just have to hope that nobody is taking an about face and looking at you. We will get the Storm Surge warning on the right-hand side. Clixton Day won't have to worry about that, and neither will Polo, as he ends up finding Nawson. But Trashy returns fire and gets a knock onto his duo. You can see Clixton Day trying to make the rotation through here, but somebody else who stands to gain a lot with Peterbot and Byla going down is Miro and Bugha. We saw Cold get a knock in the feed, though.
That's a big knock for Cold there, but Miro and Bugha are looking for some more points as well. They are about 40 points or so trailing behind Cold and Walltaker, so there's quite the gap that they need. Let's take a look here, though. It's Bucky who falls there. Bryce takes out Polo G. Meanwhile, on the side, hold up, Avery and Muzz getting it cooking over here. 7 below the Surge. This is a Command Cavern team who normally has their Surge all figured out. We've seen one game before where they did not have it, and Avery was the one who was down with the low HP coming out the zone. This time around, the shoe's on the other foot. They're up against Acorn and Edgy, an exceptional duo. And then, of course, you have Vert and Creo, that wild card team right below them.
We see Walltaker in the feed getting another elimination. We also saw the tough rotation called by Day and Clicks. They got taken it out. Yeah, it was Jeff and Oliver OG. They gave him enough problems. And now Muzz and Avery are the only duo who is underneath. But this is huge because only one player needs to go down. They have to make a decision if they're going to sacrifice somebody, make the push, or let the solo just play it out. If you decide to split your heals, you're taking more effective damage every time. You could have just yeeted one of the players out, but it's so unfortunate because Avery is going to get knocked, not by the Surge, which means he's not full confirmed, and because one person didn't want to sacrifice themselves, both go down 51-49. Storm Surge turns off.
Brocane and Joji stand to benefit so much from this. That was their direct competition. But look at this. The Walltaker is down. We just saw Cold get taken down as well, and then he had to get picked up. So we saw Walltaker clutch it up. Can Cold do it for his duo now? A huge shot, but it's not enough. And #1 and 2 teams are now crossed out of the competition. Can Bugha and Miro take advantage of this?
1 down, 2 down, 4 down, 5 down. Bugha and Miro are the only team in the top 5 who can capitalize on this. If you're the rest of the lobby, that's fantastic news. But if you are Dignitas Miro and Sentinels Bugha, you're thinking, we have to win this game. We have to put up points. We have to find eliminations. And this is their chance to make that 2-horse race a 3-horse race.
But also, Kanata and Aegis are now in 4th as well. So they're starting
to just showing how close it is, right?
Into the conversation. They're also catching up slowly but surely. creeping on up. Iamzo and Degen here trying to make best with this terrible situation as Degen's been taken out a little bit early. This is Adam Savage's pick here. Iamzo's just holding on right now. There's a player back here. He understands that. Willing to sit back here, play for the refresh. He actually grabs the body. I like this because he does have a lot of heals. Keep in mind, there's still Surge to be earned there. Okay, so it's a couple tags worth. That can play a difference here. You never really know. It's TK who falls down. TK who did in fact take out Clix and Day just a little bit ago. So this is that general area we've kind of seen the players begin to pocket up in. And now let's take a look. Let's check in. Let's get a little temperature check from Agers and Kanata. The heals looking great. The map's pretty decent, but the zone is far.
Zone is pulling due south with a lot of teams that rotate past it, and Miro finds one. Nico finds one as well. Hey, Polarized and Nico, keep taking those shots. Get yourselves on the board. Forget yesterday. It's all about today. And Rokane and Joji, hey, they're in 7th right now as well. Don't forget, our top teams are down because they've been so consistent. But when that consistency drops a little bit, drops a couple of times, everyone else has the opportunity to have that one big game to put them back on that leaderboard. And that's what's happening right now as the rotation comes out.
Degen and Iamzo started this day off like around 18th place. So did Rokane and Joji. And they're already inside that first pace, well within that top 5. These are those hero efforts we're watching unfold here on day number 2. But Miro and Bugha are alive. They're healthy. They're the scariest team on the heels of everyone else in 1st and 2nd place on high ground. Once again, Trashy and Glacier up here, and for good reason. Remember, they were clashing up against Peter and just a little bit ago, but Acorn and Edgy now starting to get active as well. 3 elims is a big game for them.
Trying to find room 430 above. Nice little short pad, but Miro again taking it. The gap and find it as Qua gets a knock on her dubs. You can see Miro doing the about face. Pam still gets a knock onto the roller. Trashy and Glaze just raining shots down from above, and Agers and Kanata find one. They're on the bottom right hand side. We'll take their look. That was hide and seek going down.
That's a big elimination right there. That's going to put them up at 2, 6 points, and of course more placement points out the side here. He's going to cut this team off. Hits his wall as well. A huge shot, but he gets punished even more. He didn't even have time to think about healing. I don't think he expected to just get hit so hard in that moment here. Agers now has to wait for the heals to drop. This is smart. It's important to go in and sit back here. He has some mats, but how much time does he have to work with? We have Iamzo continuing to clutch up as well. So 2 big solos are alive right now. Rokane and Joji are one of the best duos up though as well, as they're still our 5th place team. But back on over to Agers. Here it is. Nico and Polarized have been playing a little too good today. It's time to run, Agers.
Keep the press going. Agers trying to find some space, but only 2 more builds, and that's going to be it. He's going to be stuck with mantles and just trying to recycle other people's builds. He does have the legendary striker, so there is some one-shot potential if you can find somebody low, but he was the somebody low as Trashy and Glaze are looking to capitalize on everyone else who has gone down. But again, Bugha and Miro still up on their feet. Only 2 eliminations going through as Rokane finds his 4th for himself right before XF ends up taking him down. We'll see who gets the confirmation. Pamsto is actually going to benefit from that as Joji and Rokane go down.
Huge shot now for Bugha and Miro to jump back in here. They're about 10 points away. They meet up with one another. It's all or nothing. A huge shot there from Bugha onto Agers. Put that man down. Earn those points here. And now they're on the heels of 2nd place here. High ground's not free though. They're coming down. Might be a little too early, some might say. We'll find out. Bugha and Miro still up and cooking here. Another elim. That's onto Thatch. Miro makes it in ever so slightly, just barely. But the support from one another is beautiful to see unfold here. Miro now takes the lead, edging his way out to the front side, and you have to love that we have a 2v2v1 now.
Pamsto in the back of the zone, just using the med mist, trying
Miro's
to get
on height.
Miro rips height away as a solo, and then you can see the push coming through using that
Oh my
drum.
God.
He's going to find it, but he has to get the confirm, and he goes down. He goes down. Now it's a 1v1. Trashy and Pamsto will be on the other side, trying to find it, trying to get back in the zone. He's looking. He's like, where is he? I know he's in the zone. I know he's waiting it out. The French-Canadian just trying to heal and look for an opportunity, but Trashy is going to be able to find it. 10 elimination. I'll make it 11 in the victory royale from Glaze and Trashy. They pull themselves all the way up into the top 15 there.
what a huge game for them and a big game for Pamstu and Fatch, who clutch up as well. But man, oh man, talk about Miro and Bugha in the end game. Let's take a look at the highlights here. Shout out to Trashy and Glaze. A big game for them. A huge 11 elimination win. And look at that. You get to end it off with a nice shotgun shot. It was important that he hit that. That was worth so many points.
Yeah, being able to put up the 11 eliminations is +3 per, so it's 33 plus the 32 for the victory royale. I mean, that's a nice, and I mean nice, 65-point game. And again, we've talked about how good Peterbot and Bila, Walltaker and Cold have been, but the second they go down early and everyone else picks up some points, we're going to have some shifts.
They did not take full advantage of it, though, so second is still a ways off, but third place is starting to catch up. Vivid has to be happy about that one because that's his prediction, so let's slide on over.
Thank you, fellas. Yeah, Trashy and Glaze there. Vivid's doing a mini celebration here as well, because Bugha and Miro make it into that end game, clutching up, getting those position points, because they know that other teams ahead of them have gone down. It's going to be really exciting to see this leaderboard. SBG, what a time. What a time to be alive that was as well, because the leaderboard will be very different after this one, but we can see here Miro and Bugha. We'll come to Vivid in a second, walk us through what happened, what did they do so well in this game.
This is what you expect out of them, just playing perfectly together, hip to hip, looking at the same thing at all times, perfectly navigating their layers, getting just enough refreshes without being too aggro and then going down because of it. And we see a slight adjustment. They were taking little short launch pads this game, not going all the way up in the air and getting beamed by height. So that little adjustment was saving them HP, saving them from having to slow down and keeping them alive in this game. But I'm Vivid, I'll let you talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, no, you talked about it perfectly. Using those launch pads throughout this movie and throughout the game, we even saw them in the mid game actually use the spider web to make a little bit of a rotation in the mid game. But I was watching. Coming into the 7th zone, Miro himself had 130 builds still going into moving zones. Like, absolutely incredible. And as you can see here, they use them to perfection all the way down into the last moment that they were alive. They were fighting, consistently looking for more points, more eliminations. And this is one of those rare moments in the end game that we've seen them as a duo clutching up, getting that third place. But Miro right here almost got a couple more builds. Could have maybe pulled out a little bit more, but they did plenty.
They really did. And these are a team as well. This duo here, they know exactly how to see out games. They've been there. They've got the T-shirt, current FNCS champions. Not a surprise. They managed to do very, very well. But we've got to talk about Acorn and Edgy as well. Your pick, I believe, as well, prediction-wise, SBG. Great to see them in the end game. And again, getting eliminations, making sure they are letting others know they are here to play, to get as many placement points as possible, work their way up the leaderboard and try and get some of that top prize pool money. What have they done so well here in this game as well?
They're right in the middle of the pack, and I could basically use everything I just described to talk about Bugha and Miro for Acorn and Edgy. They're playing perfectly together, understanding the pressure, forcing players into bad positions, and then capitalizing that after they've created chaos on the backside of the zone. We see it happen right there, able to pick up an Elim, stay alive just long enough, and then just playing together. Edgy is one of the best fraggers in the region, playing with Acorn, who's also one of the best IGLs. The combo is now shooting up the leaderboard, falling early on day one, but now day two, it's their time to shine.
They're capitalizing, Vivid. They're capitalizing.
Doing so well. Listen, this is incredible because, honestly, not the best first day, but it was enough, right? As you can see here, they were in 7th as he went down right there, so a lot of points. And look at this, yeah, they went up 9 positions because of that game right there, so expect to see some more highlights out of these guys.
Yeah, we can see here SBG as well. 282 is where Peterbot and Bila are currently. We'll talk about them in a second, but you can see here now Cold and Wall take it up in 204 points. They have taken that down a little bit here. They've got some back. 3 teams are now above the 200-point threshold, SBG.
Yeah, we see Miro and Bugha. They didn't move places, but they closed the gap. They're getting that much closer just to second place. They're almost there, Vivid. And now it's going to get even closer. Agers and Kanata continue to put on a strong day, too. Joji and Rokane, after a tough start to today, have a great second game. And, hey, you picked DJ and Yamzo. They're showing up today and having a great day, too, as well. Vivid, I mean, what are they doing?
Listen, They and a bunch of other teams are just doing absolutely incredible at taking full advantage of the fact that Peterbot and Violet that game, for the first time, it seems like during this whole entire FNCS, they had Storm Surge problems. Now, Storm Surge has been a big part of the competitive for a very long time. Essentially what it is it's like a comparison as to how much damage you have done versus the rest of the lobby. You can find Storm Surge pop up at the end of like second zone, and then at the end of fourth zone, and then during those moving zones as well. Now, that first threshold, we're going to look for 70 players. So if you are one of those 30 players that are still alive, right, above that 70 player mark that hasn't done enough damage or more than other players in the lobby, expect to start taking this 25 damage every 5 seconds, and it is detrimental. As you can see here, we talked about it. Peterbot and Viola could not find any of that early damage, and that's why they ended up going down this game.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's a moving threshold. There's no set number, which makes it even difficult. Yeah. So in qualifiers, for example, in zone number 3, the threshold was typically between 300 to 600, and it goes even higher. It's from yesterday, it's been 500 plus basically every single game. So that just puts it into perspective. That's 2 full players, 200 plus 1.5 taking down just to be above that threshold in third zone. So that's a ton of damage, and it almost doubles every time the threshold shows up. So fifth zone has been about 900, and it's about 1,000 in seventh. So you got to understand, when the lobby's closed, it's less players, you don't need as much damage.
Yeah, it really forces your hand with it as well. You have to react quickly, because in that moment it's either med up or get some tags.
Yeah, and it does a great job of forcing a lot of these engagements to go down in the early game. You know, SVG did a great segment there. That's why we see some bush plays happening, some players hiding out, getting for some cheeky little tags out of that.
The bush plays, a classic here at FNCS. Right, it's time for Game 9. Things could change here. We can still see a big lead from Peterbot and Violet, but what will happen after this one, we'll just have to find out. It's back to Sundown and to Monster to bring us everything from this game here on Day 2 of FNCS NAE.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, as we close in on the halfway point of Day 2, 3/4 of the way through the entirety of the finals. And we got a 3-horse race now, all of a sudden. A little bit of stall at the top, and Booga and Miro, they capitalize.
I call that a big stall, because now what we have is a new dynamic, a new team entering into the Collider drop spot. It was almost like Easy Street Day 1, where you only had 2, but 3 is a party, no doubt about it. So with Bizzle and Diego jumping into the mix here, how will Peterbot and Violet essentially react? What will be their play? It's clear that moving south, hitting Glacian Trashy didn't work out. Glacian Trashy also made an end game, that game number 8, but here it is. Hopping on into game number 9 here. There is a lot to be told, a lot to unfold here, most importantly, because the standings, the story, it's getting more and more interesting.
And again, still an 80-plus point lead. So what we saw last game, basically going to have to see 2 more times.
Yes.
And with only 4 games total, this one and then 3 more, the time is ticking as we're going to swing on over Synapse Station. Boyle and Except looking for some room, and a great first pickup there. Able to get that striker burst in. Will Boyle be able to find those long shots that have just harassed so many players?
Now, this has been a contested drop for the last 2 days for Voyo and Except. It's been a back-and-forth story here. They found a little more success coming out early. This time, though, on over to Golden and Fable Taco. We saw this fight last time be a bit dragged out, right? Took a long time to conclude. Now, though, getting to a bit of a resolution faster here. Taco has to figure out what he's going to do. Trashy on the other side is going to go ahead and save Glace. Now they have themselves a 2v1 situation. That big endgame performance, though, from Trashy and Glace took them well outside of the top 20s on into that 14th bubble position. They currently stand to earn a lot more money than they did when they started the day off.
And again, we talked about how the bus path impacts so many different things. In the top left-hand corner, again, we see Hide and Seek off a southern bus path picking up a knock before one of those sleepier Lighthouse teams are able to touch their feet down. However, we're going to stick to the gas station story here. Trashy and Glace are just trying to slow this fight down. They don't want to give Fable Taco a window, and he's not going to get it. It gets slammed shut in his face, saying, hey, you stay outside. You can watch what happens in the next game, as they're going to continue to try to pick up the pace here. And now it looks like it's not just 3 teams, there's 4.
Because Sinetto lands outside at the bridge just to the north, and it seems like they're rotating in southern a little faster than they were before, and for good reason. Let's talk about it. The reason reason that will be is because why not? There's more congestion happening here. There's more of a likelihood that the teams are combating one another so they can come on in, find tags sooner, and possibly get a little bit more success here. Kuga and, of course, users at Vendo, they've been middling in the tournament, right? Staying somewhere up near the top, not necessarily on that first page, but very much in the conversation for one of those last-minute stretches on into the top 10, maybe even a top 5 if they do really well.
And one thing to note here is Peterbot and Bila haven't necessarily been taking these initial fights at the Collider, but the big difference from what we saw at the very start of yesterday is they're no longer even trying to push for these early game elos, which is fine. They don't have to be taking those risks. They are that far ahead. However, when they're not taking these early fights, they're put under Storm Surge pressure. The only 2 poor games they've had in these finals, and I mean they've had 3 total across all of the set lobbies, have been when they're under Storm Surge pressure.
Storm Surge pressure is important. This is why we continue to break it down, talk about the implications, and also try to relate that and tie it all in as often as possible, because that's the biggest difference, I would say, from normal play, right, casual play and competitive, is that as you get into those later stages of any competitive format or game tournament, you're gonna notice the dynamic changes, and if you're not prepared, if you don't have that experience, it's gonna creep up on you. But here for Bugha and Miro, this drop spot's looking decent, but let's slide on over. A little action here to keep us on in and dialed in. Stretch and Commandment trying to do something big here. The last time they took this fight, though, it did not work out here at the Coney Crossroads, as they've been battling this out, what, for the 9th time now here as we're in Game 9?
Yeah, and I mean, Death and Tabnet played very well yesterday. They were able to be consistent through the first couple of games. Now we'll swing on over. This is a fight we saw resolved in the first game where Glaze and Trashy got caught out after being held down by Golden and Fabled Taco, and it looks like that's going to be the case again as Narwhal swims his way on in, and he's going to spear Glaze.
What's sad about this is that Trashy and Glaze have, again, gone from outside the top 20 on into this 13th position here, especially this game already earning 6 points off of the elimination. So talk about a team that's sort of creeping their way back on into this top 10 conversation to end the tournament today, but now being put on a bit of a hold here for Death and Tabnado, our team that's going to keep us dialed in for some action right now, has a world of problems. Not only is there a team shooting from behind them, they have a very skilled Commandment and Stretch in front of them. Yes, Commandment and Stretch are having a bit of a struggle here in the tournament series, but this is no pushover team.
I mean, like you said, we saw Stretch on social media earlier today saying it's a little bit more reinvigorated, and you can see he's probably going to look to apply that here. Whereas Tabnet, Depth, they want to get in the conversation, be on that front page. Don't forget, hey, just because you don't win, there is still tens of thousands of dollars on the line. Every team you pass, once you're into those top thresholds, will make you a little bit more on the season. And right now, Commandment and Stretch trying to avoid going down early here, as Stretch basically used all of his HP there, down to just a bare sliver of white.
What a team play. Hey, Stretch, you have the big pot. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to go ahead and use it for myself. I'm going to help you get a little bit more comfortable. On over to the Wall Taker and Cold here, though. On the other side, once again, this is their favorite position to be in after their early game rotates. They play the bush, they play the bridge for Metal, for Clay, Day and Clix here, though. It's been a back and forth battle. Clix finally, though, ends the fight quick. This is a re-engagement onto Sphinx and DeQuentin. We've seen this battle happen before. Last time it took a long time to close out, though.
And you know for a fact, Clix right there was boxed. 200.
Hey,
by the way, the strikers can't hit for 200. He'll still make the calm, though.
Definitely, it's something our pro players love to do. It's that excitement that comes into the fight there. You know, it's hard to kick it. Players are so used to making those call-outs here, but let's jump on over to the Command Cavern. Polarized and Nico, man, that last game, if they could have just done that in day one a couple more times, they would surely be up at the top, but they have managed to find themselves a little bit of a fresh breath of air, if you might say.
But honestly, I love the fact that they are still going and still pushing. We talked about it right at the start, but you can't let one bad day keep you down. Anything can happen in Fortnite. All of these players deserve, qualify, push their way all the way through. And the fact, I mean, they caught a ton of slack from a bunch of other players being like, how is that possible? All this stuff. Well, they're still here playing, right? Everybody else who's watching, you're watching for a reason right now, and they're pushing and they're making an impact on these other teams, and that's what you want to see right now. As Elite and Bank, they're getting put through the trials. They're trying to create it, and I mean, NiKo and Polarize are playing great. This push is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And Elite and Bank were also playing fantastic yesterday. We saw them switch up the pace here, but now starting to slip behind, not finding as much success as before because you have a team like NiKo and Polarize all of a sudden just playing very, very well. Look at that. They picked up 44 points that last game, a huge way to go from 0 to hero. All of a sudden they are on the board here, and a huge knock right in front of them, but a team slides on in. Is that, who is that? Is that Muzz and Avery on the other side? What team just slid on into this conversation here? They're trying to inject themselves. It's Scarebear and Walkers, a team that absolutely needs it. They were up in the top 5, and then they say, no, 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 we're here to fight. We're going to continue to push on through as well. And we have a big clash here. All of a sudden, everyone has to slow down.
One thing to note, we are pulling to pretty much the same first zone that we had in game number 1 on today, so game 7 overall. They're going to have a pretty far east rotation. With that being said, with the 4 flops on NiKo, they can chill forever. The floppers can really offset a lot of this 1-tick zone. The first 2, when you're in the storm, it only does 1 damage per second. Like, the players are more than capable of being able to offset that pressure, as now we're going to swing on over, and we'll get a nice little temperature check with where our current leaders are, because I'm very interested to see whether or not Storm Surge is going to end up being a problem for them. However, what's not a problem is they're getting a supply drop directly on top of the head, and Peterbot has a shotgun this time.
Yeah, the shotgun that he loves as well, that high fire rate weapon, but also already securing themselves that launch pad from the drop, and now an additional one because, of course, they get this airdrop here. So that is a bonus point on top of a bonus point here. You'd love to see it here. Now with 2 launch pads, it's looking like this might be a game that it'd be impossible to stop them unless the Storm Surge does. And it does look like there are so many players alive right now. Day is going to find another one in the feed there. That is on to Playify. So this time around, Clix and Day have managed to start to turn online, find a couple Eons, find success.
Yeah, in the second zone, again, reveal coming through, very similar to what we saw in game number 7. I believe we had 2 of these yesterday as well, so the teams should kind of have an idea of where they want to rotate, which duos are around them, what they're capable of doing. But speaking of that, Day and Clix on the board, and still going. NiKo finds one onto Walkers, and I'm going to put a little bit of an outside prediction coming in here as we're going to check it out, what NiKo is able to do. I think NiKo and Polarize push themselves up into at least top 25 today, arguably maybe even top 20. They're playing very well, and I want to see that fire lit under them.
I mean, it already has been lit, right? You have the community pretty much talking down, and then they said, you know what? Let's show up today. Let's show players why we made it this far. And let's be honest, more often than not, the guys talking aren't the dudes in the conversation with y'all in finals. So NiKo and Polarize proving that they are some of the best players on the region, and you know what? They deserve to be here. The performances are speaking for themselves.
There was also a reboot that we just heard near them, and it might be something where they're trying to hawk that player out. So we're going to hop on over with Cold and FaZe Walltaker. And you're probably saying, why are you calling him Walltaker? Hey, that's his name. That's what he wants to be called. As we know it's scented, but at the end of the day, rep yourself, rep your brand. Your name matters when you're on the big screen and you're on a stage like this. And speaking of being on the big screen, what's up, Cineplex? How you guys doing? I know Adam made the joke. He's like, wow, look, I made it. I'm on the big screen, but it's cool. Yeah, 1, super cool. 2, one little fact, I won't leak where, but Adam's been on the big screen before. I'll let y'all go do some digging in that regard. But
oh no,
we see Tabney pick up Bizzle and Diego, a nice little double for him there.
Great double for them there. They're going to start racking up some extra points here. Death and Tabney have started to make themselves well heard in this game number 9 here. Now, again, this game will officially mark the just about halfway point of the Day 2 finals here for us. There's 12 games of course Fortnite that happened over the last 48 hours or so. But in the feed, Scarebear gets fully taken out now by Bank, so that's going to be the conclusion of Walkers and Scarebear once again. It seems like them going back into the command cavern isn't working today. Yesterday they were kind of leaving the drop spot and playing outside of it and finding more success.
But this is something we see a lot of when we get these eastern pulls, that you get kind of those trickling fights on the western side of the map. So we're going to swing on over with Agers and Kanata as they're trying to go through. And I would call Kanata by whatever name name that is there, but I speak absolutely no Asiatic languages whatsoever. I couldn't even tell you where those characters are from, so as we come through, we see Tabs picking up Joji, but Pamstyle going to return the favor, getting the confirmation onto Macwood. Joji and Rokane having a hard time staying consistent going up, but the individual efforts have been what's carried them through.
Yeah, and this is an important moment for them. It does seem like they've lost their vehicle, which is what honestly makes their drop spot exceptional. And we have such a bad spot to be in. 123 damage below the surge here. 18 players have to get eliminated. These tags, crucial to their success right now. Couple being made, but 40 seconds until the wrath of the Storm Surge truly turns on, begins to damage them. Another team is the 5th place team of Rokane and Joji. As you can see, this great two-shot here. They are right next to each other, both sides on the west, right? The western portion of the bubble. They will ultimately start looking at one another soon. That could be Kanata. For all you know, they're shooting on in.
Yeah, and you don't want to be taking chip damage like that if you're going to then be under pressure from Storm Surge. Rokane and Joji, we did see Joji get knocked, but he was able to get picked up. So they've already invested a decent amount of heals to get him back up to this effective HP. And in 5 seconds, Storm Surge is going to turn on. They're going to get wall-to-wall with Mason and Jackson and try and push this fight.
And that's a lot of damage they're going to have to find here. Mason and Jackson are no pushovers when it comes to these box fights here. These are teams that are resilient. They've been in these early game scrappy battles before. And you know what? They put the punishment down. They understand all the techniques, wait for the pre-fires and everything in between. Rokane and Joji start to fire back up. Great tags there onto Du on the side, making a cold peek. But that might be the biggest mistake there. Rokane not hitting the headshot on that Acorn and edgy peak right there. It could spell disaster for them now. Meanwhile, on the high ground, Kanata and Agers was the team looking down. They have that mountain peak. So when the fight breaks out here, when the new builds come through, you know they're going to start lasering in as well.
Players are dropping like flies. This is that 25 damage every 5 seconds. Joji finds a monstrous shot, but nearly at the cost of his entire HP.
He
and it
gets
just wasn't quite enough.
My God.
Just barely able to get the mini off, but he has to find another shot right now because the Storm Surge is going to come through and he gets picked up. If you get hit by Storm Surge, you don't have enough time to then pop that big pot. It takes 5 seconds going out, and the huge shotgun shot was not enough. That was the threshold you talked about as we swing on over. They got second place in the last FNCS finals, but right now Spade and Chim under the pressure, under the caution. A great, absolutely great armored wall slammed down on that ramp, trying to alleviate some of it. But Jeff and Oliver say, it's okay, we'll just go around. We'll find the side door.
They're not going to let that elimination walk free. They take him down. It's enough to get them above the surge for now. And now that leaves one single team below the surge here getting hit by those lightning bolts. Everyone else kind of gets a moment to breathe, but that cost the lobby so much health. So many of our top teams fall in there, and we're going to see that wear and tear start to take place now in Game 9.
But somebody I didn't see there was Peterbot and Viola, but somebody I want to see is Vivid. What you got for us?
Just wanted to quickly talk about how good Bugha and Miro really are in these early game rotations. Now, we actually just saw Joji and Rokane go down the Storm Surge, unfortunately, but they were on the edge of the zone, and they actually landed north of Bugha and Miro. But Bugha and Miro are way ahead of the lobby here. They make this rotation from all the way Chalker Speedway very, very early on, and effectively, they can just walk on foot all the way up to Sanctuary, which is effectively in the middle of the zone now. That's why they are so good.
I mean, so good is honestly a little bit of an understatement, but hold the phone here as Viola is down. So we talk about adversity. We talk about how there needs to be a little bit of a slip and a fall and a stumble from our first place team, and unfortunately that seems to be the case. However, with that being said, if there is a solo I want in this position based off of what has happened this season, it's Peterbot.
Peterbot definitely has that clutch potential, but if you're our number 2 and 3 teams, Bugha, Miro, Sentin, Cold, this is an opportunity of a lifetime here that could potentially present itself. Now, what you're noticing, Peterbot is what could be the worst position. He's in a valley. He is pinched between 2 teams, honestly, 4. About 4 teams here. They can look down, they can lobby, focus him, and they saw him rotate in as a solo. Luckily, though, they're focusing on players outside the zone, so the attention's not on him.
Because he's able to break line of sight, something Peterbot does incredibly well as he uses the natural geography. But one thing to note here, once we actually get a look, take a peek in the bottom right-hand corner. You see how many teams are on that western side. It's something we talked about earlier, how we just keep going east, and this is actually one of the hardest zones to rotate through, as we're going over the islands that are to the east of the Sanctuary. There are so few viable land places to end up going, and you don't want to put yourself over water. So there's basically the southern island and then a little bit of real estate on the northern part. But Bugha ends up getting the confirmation there onto Bryce G. As you can see, Walltaker and Cold are trying to just scoot in and find a little bit of these oases, try and find a little bit of room. As we swing on over to my prediction, Luminosity Gaming Jumper, Dignitas Duke.
Second, third, fourth are still alive. There's opportunity here for that gap to be closed. Any teams within the top 10 can start fighting their way towards that top 5 right now. Nothing is off the table as we have seen the story change here in day number 2. For Duke and Jamper, though, a lot to fight for. This Storm Surge, oh man, it cost them a lot. You can see there's only bandages in play. You have Skittles down low here. They have to make a rotate, but they know there's a team lurking inside that cone. And he's saying, hey man, what are you doing? Why aren't you moving? They need to wait for a second.
Yeah, but don't forget, as soon as you get to this fourth zone, this is 5 ticks. So yeah, you might think, oh, a bandage is great. You're not actually gaining any HP first, so they're going to try and recycle the pad. But a high pad in this circumstance, 2 bullets will end up taking out Duke. We've seen them do this high pad a couple times and just pray that nobody looks their direction. That's going to be the case. And instead, he actually looks right in Bucky's direction, knocks on the door, says, hello, anybody home?
What's crazy is that could be the refresher that they needed this game, but they do not fully commit there. Instead, they waited out. They have this high ground essentially granted to them. And this zone is just insane. You have a huge pocket of players in the northwest, an even bigger one down at the southwest as well. And the landmass is in play towards that south. So the likelihood of the zone going there is pretty up there, but it will only tell in a couple seconds. First, though, Chimp has to survive this now because these tags, he's hitting them, but it's not enough.
Half in, half out is almost guaranteed to pull to the south. There is a very slight chance it goes to that little northern bit, but
oh my God,
that's like a 1% pull. That is ridiculous.
Through,
what?
And this is what we call a nightmare zone. This is what nightmares are fueled on right here. Chimp, he's like, oh great, I got the zone, but
one shot,
dude, how are you going to survive this? He's below the zone. He gets taken out. That's free loot there, and honestly, Threats and Rise will be the first to claim it as they slide on over to that side. Literally, 0 players are in the zone.
Not a single one in Threats and Rise. They're the yellow triangles in the bottom right-hand corner. They're getting in and saying, all right, let's just get some space and make everyone rotate through us. See, Polo ends up picking up Nico there. We will have Storm Surge turned off as we have 50 players almost in the cascading placement point of 27. But this is going to test these duos. How well have you drilled these water zones? What resources do you have available to you? Because you basically have to have fantastic timing or even better resources when it comes to using the map and using the launch pad. And Peterbot, somebody does that incredibly well. Recycling somebody else's pad, and all he wants to do is stay up, and he's going to keep hunting for these pads.
I love this.
Hunting for the pads, he's looking for Elim.
I love that he sits around there, does some tags. If the zone takes him out, he will find some placement points, and Elim's off of that as well. He sees a duo to the side, thinks about it, but no. Instead, now has to play for position. He needs a refresher, but mistakes may have been made. He has to reload his weapon now, so he could be regretting it here as he could not take advantage of the chaos there and landing on a teammate. Instead, he says, okay, time to change layer here. There's targets all around him, but he has to get ready for the fight.
He's getting dropped down.
Oh, no.
Builds, only 2 builds. It's going to be forced right in the face, and that's the biggest thing. When you have those drum shotguns, yes, they're super effective, but it's an attrition weapon. You have to trade your HP pool out for the higher rate of fire, and he just didn't have it, not having the time to even pop the minis. So now, Peterbot and Bila, yes, they were able to pick up, I think it was, what, maybe 6, 7 placement points? Dignitas Miro, Sentinels Bugha, still up on their feet.
They fell in 23rd place there or somewhere about, so it's okay, but it's not great. It allows teams like Miro and Bugha to go ahead and jump on in, vault themselves, continued into that conversation. But I want to know, where are the others? Where's Cold? Is he still in play right now? Where is Ager's duo? Are they still in play right now? Those are the teams that stand to benefit from the #1 duo going down already here so early. But take a look. Out comes the rotates.
Yeah, and here we are hopping on board here. Walltaker Cold looking for some room. And honestly, I'm not sure I've seen this zone this season, whether watching all the cash cups and the scrims. There is no viable land in play. The percentage to pull this is ridiculous. And the players, Slax and Clarity, are trying to cut to the outside. Everyone else taking to the sky, but they're so open. Everyone is focused on rotating. There's very few exchanges going out, which means the players who get to the front of the zone first and can about face are going to have an utter buffet of eliminations to be able to pick up.
This is NA East Finals, ladies and gentlemen. This is where things start to get very interesting for us. It's endgame. It's high ground play. It's teams playing for their first ever victory royale in a final stage setting. These type of moments will change the mentality of our pros forever. A team like Polo and Shoney, first time showing up in a finals. Can they secure a win? Yes, they can. And if they do, that's the confidence booster for the year to set things up. But right now, back into the conversation here. Walltaker by himself. Still holding on to that placement point. He has now jumped up, though. He's gone from 202 to 219. Can he get on the wall? No! He gets taken out there. Day slides in, Clicks follows up, and down he goes, kicking down the door. 4 Elans for them. Miro and Bugha, however, are still alive here now. Down goes Miro. Bugha has to clutch this up. He turns back. He wants to take the fight. A solo slides in. Who was that? He's out of there.
Trying to fight the bus, but no more builds for Bugha. And notice, hey, full water zone to full water zone. Yeah, there's a little bit of land in between, but what are you going to do once you get there if you don't have builds? You see Bugha trying to check the backside of the zone, trying to see if there's anything there. He finds some flops, finds some splashes to be able to get some room up on the high ground. Polo, Shonyi trying to just run this out, push themselves up the leaderboard, but right now the room is given for the World Cup solo champion to put his statement on it. He needs to find a refresh on the backside of the zone. That was his very last build to just come to the top. He's trying to find someone on the backside, and he goes down in 13.
To the hands of Larson there, who slides on up, picks up those points. Now on over to our number 6 position team, Pamsto and Fatch here. They started this game at around 11th. They jumped their way on up into this conversation, as has Edgy and Incourt. A huge shot there. Love the pre-fires. That is what it is all about right there. Armored walls get slammed down though, so things are going to start slowing down. Nexi and Narwhal find themselves in an endgame already at 5 eliminations here. They're starting to rocket their way on up. These are big opportunities now for teams to go ahead and get into these conversations. And remember, you want to do well no matter who you are, because there is so much money on the line. This is it. It's all or nothing for Tabneh. He is just trying to clutch up right now. A great game for him. Puts him around 6. Polo and Shoney, though, they are not looking to jump down. Not just yet. As I say that, though, he hops in and finds a great elimination there onto Rise. Meanwhile, Polo's like, hold up. I'll sit back. Thanks for the refresher there. You can give me some of that loot. We'll work with that.
Right now, Fatch, Pamstel, they're trying to work on the low ground while Shoney and Polo are up on the high ground. You can find some great shots coming out from Fatch. The French Canadians trying to push right to the top 5. He finds an angle. Give me them toes, he said. Fatch cuts them down like their Achilles, not dipped in the river Styx. As you can see, Nexi finding some room. Nexi and Narwhal, they're making them push themselves. 5 eliminations, plenty of control going through, and we're pulling all the way back over water. Forget what I said about viable land. I'm just wrong. We got water zones all day here in the East.
Definitely opportunity right here and now. Fatch and Pam here trying to get active. I like what I'm seeing here, Sundown. I mean, it's going to get a little crazy. Who's going to clutch up?
They're trying to find the shots here. Nexi ends up going down. Fatch gets traded out himself. Pamstel, he wants to find the refreshes. Polo dips in, and Pamstel gets the gift from above. And you see him timing, waiting to make sure he gets the maximum for the siphon. And he goes straight up, recognizing it's a 1v1. Pamstel, the French Canadian, he says, whoa. 2-horse race? No, let's make it a 4-horse race. Don't forget about me. I predicted them the entire time last season, and maybe I was just a season late, but the newcomer, Shoney, trying to do something about it, but what he does is run out of builds, and all of a sudden, the French Canadians, they're knocking on the door as well, saying, hey, you got room up there for me? It looks pretty cozy.
You can't help but root for Pamsto and Fatch. You've seen all the content pieces really starting to blossom on who Pamsto and Fatch are. They're a duo that play with one another. They're a duo that believe in one another. A low ground victory is no easy feature. What a great win coming out of Game 9.
And they are roaring, and I mean roaring here on day 2. And again, everyone talks about, like, hey, maybe there's kind of these underdogs and all that type of stuff. Fatch got 10th in World Cup in solo.
Exactly.
Pamstel won the Grand Royale coming through. I mean, these guys can play, and they're showing up right now.
It's crazy to think that we have had this team with so much competitive history, and it's almost like we were slept on them for a little while, but you play, you continue to play, and now they're showing up here when it matters most today. Let's hop it on over, though. We need some numbers crunch. Let's get over there.
We're going to crunch all those numbers right now. Pamsto and Fatch, they're GGs. Wow. They've done it. I think we can all agree, though, the wackiest storm of all time. I mean,
up there, over there.
I mean, the water, the Twin Islands. So, I mean, it was bonkers, but it made for a really entertaining game. I think that's one of the great things about this as well. You need a game like this in FNCS Finals, really switch things up, because the traditional way of playing necessarily might be thrown completely off because of the change of zones there. Vivid, what a way to win things out. But again, Peterbot, Byler go down early, but Pamsto and Fatch, we've got to talk about these guys. Fantastic stuff.
Pamsto and Fatch showing up. Sundown said it perfectly. Listen, do you guys have enough room up there? As you can see right here, they're at 153 points going into this end game, and they end up upwards of 200 points. So a huge 50-point swing for them, and honestly, coming at a very good time. You mentioned it. Peterbot going down, Walltaker and Cold going down, Bugha and Mira a little bit early, I think like 12th, right? Coming out with a victory royale. It is going to be very close to the top of this leaderboard.
It is going to be, and we talked about how it was so close between everyone else, and we've seen a new duo win a game every single time that hasn't won yesterday. This is a crazy difference between yesterday to today, and it is going to be a mashup of all these teams. But quick shout out to Fatch and Pamsto playing this superbly. We talked about them going for the high ground, but no, clearly showing us, again, it doesn't matter what layer, they're playing everything, and they're slaying out. Pam had 8 elims altogether. That was incredible, and you love to see just the continuance of a team rising and rising.
Yeah, indeed. Speaking of rising and rising, the Capilot duo there as well. They had high ground for a long period of time there, but at the end ran out of mats down to the bottom there, and it was capitalized upon by Pamsto and Fatch. Let's look at our leaderboard, and we can see here again the lead has been squashed a tiny bit here. As Cold and Walltaker in second position, 219 now. Peterbot and Byler remaining on 287, Vivid.
I mean, the first 3 teams are just sitting up there, but the rest of the leaderboard has changed like every single game today so much. Now we see Pamsto and Fatch showing up to the party. Acorn and Edgy, they have been edging their way up very slowly throughout the day, and finally we can see them in the top 5 in striking distance if these games keep going this way.
Yeah, it's been a crazy day thus far to see all these teams shifting the leaderboards, and we even see on page 2, 11 through 20 is not that far behind those places in that top 5 to top 10 position. It's going to be a really close battle as we head into the back half of this, but I want to focus on a team that also made a nice rise, as Hide and Seek and Nets. They made a big push, were able to grab several elims in that end game and get themselves up on top on this top 10 for now. We saw them pop off in semifinals, putting together a massive game, and now they're looking to do it once again in finals, moving up 6 places. I mean, we have literally no idea how this is going to continue, as it is so close.
This is why we love this competition so much, with 12 games in finals as well, because the leaderboard fluctuates so much when the top teams do go down early, like Peterbot and Bugha as well. It does change things up. Now we can see so many teams on big points here, but you know, our big teams going down early, Vivid, this makes a massive difference to proceedings. It's going to be interesting to see how this affects things with only 3 games to go now.
Yeah, honestly, pretty tough position here for Bugha and Mira. They were trying to make the most of it. Unfortunately, as they kind of got settled in here to this 7th zone, Mira ends up going down. Not enough piece control to kind of keep him safe, but Bugha makes a very intelligent play here. He knows what Mira dropped. Those Siphon Mats went down, the floppers that he dropped as well. And of course, we know Bugha, he's going to try to make up for as many points as he possibly can. I think he grabbed like 1 more placement position there. So again, clutching up in any way that he possibly can to keep him at the top of this leaderboard.
Still grabbing those points, and that's what they've been able to do. We'll continue to see it, even 3rd place, falling early and showing why this region is so close. So many players, so many duos making that push, trying to grab a victory royale. It'd be awesome to see a new team win the next game too.
I mean, that's why we all love the region so much, folks, because it is so tight. There are so many big teams. I mean, looking ahead now, we're in the final quarter, the 4th quarter of this technically. The end game is in sight. We can see that the line is just there, but Vivid, we've not maybe necessarily seen it this tight before. What are Peterbot and Byler, our top team? How are they going to change things up? How are Mira and Bugha going to do the same as well?
Honestly, listen, if the games keep going like this, they really don't have to do anything, because the teams that are actually in striking distance of Peterbot and Byler, they aren't finding the games when Peterbot and Byler go down as well, right? So we're kind of seeing this like they're matching like pretty much how much points the top team is getting. However, if Walltaker and Cole start to catch up, Bugha and Miro have a good game and they fall down, then this last game that we will see on the day will be very, very close.
It's going to be super close indeed. Of course, as mentioned, this is the fourth quarter now. It all happens here. 3 games left to play, and then we'll crown our champions here on FNCS NAE. Who's it going to be? Continue to let us know the conversation online who you think is going all the way. It is over again to Monster, to Sundown. We're diving straight back in. Here we go. It's time for more. Let's do it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And as we close in on the double-digit games, game number 10, just 3 left. We went from a 2-horse race to a 3-horse race. So all of a sudden, the French Canadians, they put themselves in there. And now we got 4 people over 200 points.
Yeah, definitely. Players are starting to catch up now. And, you know, Vivid and SBG broke it down best. You have to take advantage if you want to catch up to our number 1 teams. But since that hasn't happened, we have had some of the most interesting second to about top 20 that we've ever seen. So as we start hopping on to game number 10 here, this is where big question marks are everywhere. Who's going to end this day inside the top 10? Who's going to really fight and hurdle their way up thousands of dollars into more prizing?
I think one of the most interesting things to see, as we do have a north to south bus pass, so keep an eye on what happens in Sleepy Sound here. When we look at the leaderboard and we look at the deltas on the left-hand side where it shows how people are changing, the top 3, they've just had a line next to it all day, whereas it's like, hey, this is the spot you've been in. Everyone else has had like +9, +12 up on the top of the page. But right now, Cody G and Slacks, hey, the shoe is on the other foot. Finally, they're able to throw some shots down on somebody gliding.
Yes, they got the bus on their side, and that's hide and seek net to land on that south side of Sleepy Sound. A team that, again, had an exceptional day 1. Kicked off a little slow, slipped back, but then jumped right back into that conversation, netting themselves on into that top 10, now holding a top 7 spot currently as we enter into this game right now. For Pamsu and Fatch, we know that they have this very odd drop spot that they've managed to work out here. Honestly, playing with very little, so man, if you want to learn how to play off a scrappy drop, this is the team you need to watch right here.
I absolutely love this split. It's one of my favorite ones on the outside of the map, again, as somebody who plays very much to not fight people, because honestly, every single person in Arena is just infinitely better than me at this point now. I mean, you're able to make it work then, especially when you can hit those shots and you can pressure. As they have seen, they're able to get the ball rolling. But speaking of getting the ball rolling, Brocade and Joji, they find a pair right away.
That's one's Glace. That's a big one. Remember, Glace was just here not too long ago, so Brocade and Joji look inwards and get shots from way off in the distance. So that's actually a huge setback for Trashy.
Well, that's that north to south bus pass that we talk about, how we haven't necessarily had a ton of them, but it impacts these teams and what you're able to do. And a nice little loot pickup there from Trashy.
Yeah, Trashy gets to get his teammate's card, gets to secure the loot before Taco and Golden decide they want it. But over to the other side, though, this fight over at the Coney Crossroads has been extended once again here. Tabney and Death. Last game we're in 25th place. Now on up into that 19th. We talked about how those standings are getting closer and closer. Take a look at who's now in the conversation for a potential top 10. It's the young Tabney. It's an elite Death. And you know what's really cool about this team is that they've really earned the professional player community's respect. And I think after today, they're going to earn a little bit more strikes, but they have to put up consistently. Great counter tag there. Tabney gets traded. Death has to come through and do something big now, or it's a 2v1 situation. He does have the HP lead, though. No reason for him to slow down just yet. But we all know it's scary. Face checking 2. Great angle right there. Death just clutches up. Yes, he had the health advantage and everything, but it's the angles. It's playing smart and out positioning himself against Stretch and Commandment there.
And generally they say you can always depend on Death and Taxes, but might as well change it to Death and Tabney as they're able to just take them down. We're going to swing on over. FaZe, Walltaker, 33 cold. Trying to find a little bit of room here outside the fortress. Notice how they aren't landing anywhere near the actual POI. They loot out and then move back in or take some peeks, but we actually saw Byla get their train rolling a little bit more. They got the confirmation there on the Glace.
More tags are very important, but we all know, like SBG broke down, the Storm Surge data says you need about 500 or so damage to be safe. That is just going to be an early game elimination more often than not. early game Elans, players are not fully healthy, right? They don't have that much.
So while we did see the confirmation come through from Violet, it was not his knock. And now not forget, in competitive Fortnite, to get the points, the 3 points for the elimination, you have to be the one to knock the player.
That is right. So he finished a down body, which means the total effective HP even available from that, definitely less than 100. So chances are he didn't really gain much from that, but it's a little something to be, look forward to, be happy about, especially if you got the Siphon material as well. That's always something to kind of add in there.
And one of the things to note, while Peterbot and Viola have slowed down, their train still left the station way before everyone else.
Long ago.
And with only 3 games left, they can start to kind of look at that maybe 60-point lead and be like, hey, one more good game puts this almost out of touching distance for everyone else.
Not almost. I think it does.
I mean, we've seen 60-plus point games, right? So theoretically, there's a chance. Are you saying there's a chance? Well, yes, but just as much as where that saying comes from.
Exactly. There's a chance. We'll see how it works out. What FNCS finals we have had unfold for us. Exciting things on the horizon to look forward to as well. What a time to be alive. But let's take a look at Blake here and Lawrence, who have been at the Condo Canyon. No easy drop spot for them, but notice today has been a very different pace. They've said, hey, let's go into day 2. We don't need a fight at the Condo Canyon. It was not worth it yesterday, right? Where they were well within that top 3, top 5 conversation. 2 games later, they fell. They pretty much got stopped dead in their tracks because you had that NRG duo, Clix, Day, rotating south saying, hey, we want a piece of this fight. And that was the difference.
Right now we're going to swing on over. Polarized and Nico still continuing to try and take shots, but Polarized, instead of taking them, is catching them. It's Muzz and Avery on the opposite side. Avery going to be the one who gets the knock. Muzz, the player from down under, trying to push through the PSG TNA player on the wall, getting the spray down. Nico making sure he tops himself off with the splash because he knows this is going to be a tough 1v2 to win out. But with the way he's been playing, you can already see extending the space, giving himself some more options, trying to not get trapped. But you got lurkers all over the place. Ab is looking down. Staring Walkers are trying to get a piece of the pie over here, saying, this apple tastes good. What can we get? Some Harpoon coming out, going to get the wall replaced. Maybe look to even try and pull Nico out, but Nico says, put that away. Get a real weapon out and fight me.
Our team, of course, starting to slide in, though. They're looking in. That Walkers and Scarebird duel there, like you mentioned, they started the day off 7th place. They fall into 25th, but it shows you how much room there is for them to jump back in here. We still have a couple of games in front of us, so there's a lot of opportunity, but it also allows us to understand that the points are close.
And no, if you're watching at home, we've been focusing a ton on the top of the table because this is the finals. At the end of the day, whoever is in first place, 130K, Active Champions 2.0, all the impressions, the clout that comes with it. But if you're not in that top 3, because they picked up so many of the points, there's so much room for dramatics. There's so much room for placements to change, for money to be made. And that's why every single one of these fights that happens is so significant.
Yeah, definitely. And let's not just forget all the other prizing that everyone else wants to take a stab at. And then, of course, I keep calling them the new era, the new wave of players that are here. But we have to talk about them as well. We know season to season, where you place allows you to possibly level up, try new duos, earn respect in the space, which can make the difference.
Yeah, you got to get your name out there. And don't forget, you talk about the new era, but the new era, the names who we haven't seen before. NA East is the most veteran region when it comes to this finals. And what I mean by that is the duos who are playing in here combined have I think it was 475 finals appearances between all of them, which is a bonkers, absolutely bonkers number. But we're still seeing the ones who are a little bit newer end up picking up the pace. And actually, Peterbot got a knock onto Sonetto there, so maybe as Byla's able to get it, that's 3 points they desperately need.
That's 2 elims now for Byla there to get the full finish on 2. That's 6 points potentially going nowhere. No, actually, just 3.
Yeah, because of the first one of them was knock. Yep.
True that. But it's still going to translate well on the scoring there as they get the full finish. So 3 more points for them, slowly but surely, riding their way to victory. But here's a little bit of a sneaky play. How long is the NRG duo here willing to wait for this one? It does seem like forever. Threats and Rise are waiting it out too, though. They're not looking to play their hand too soon.
And it's such an interesting dichotomy to me between Clix and Day's approach to these fights. because we see the patience they have in so many of these circumstances where they sneak up and they try and get those first shots. But it seems like that patience almost goes right out the window as soon as they commit to the fight. And if they can get a little bit more of a balance, I'd expect them to have a more complete game plan. However, when it all goes right, it goes very right. But we're going to hop back on board because Peterbot and Bila, they got something going for what feels like the first time in a while.
Yeah, here we have finally now a good start for Bila and Peterbot. I like what they did here, though. They stood their ground. They stood at the collider, almost like their past game.
And they're potentially looking to catch some of the teams who rotate out from that northwest corner because they know they like to go late. But we did see the zone revealed on the left-hand side. One thing about this zone in particular, and we've talked about, when the zone pulls south like this, the hoodoos, or those large rocks that are smaller at the bottom in the desert, fun little vocab word for you there, are such a power position because building up onto them, you have to build from basically line of sight where the people on top can already shoot down. So all the teams on the northern part of the zone, if you're rotating late, good luck.
Yeah, definitely good luck. And
that's a lot of the lobby.
Threats in Rise right now, who seem to have gotten punished here as the NRG boys swing the fight way around here. But you have a team now sneaking up. They see the build. They see the Fresh. They're looking in. They're curious. Hey, what's going on over here? Can we get involved? Can we find a chance to open up? Remember, Fresh builds are going to attract the sharks in the water. These sharks are hungry in these finals lobbies here. No big tags, nothing substantial being traded just yet.
And again, we've talked about how the veterans have come through, but we've also seen 7 different players pick up their first victory royale in the finals here with Pamsto and Thatch. They've been around forever. It's the first time they've won a game coming through, but right now we got Clix and Day, Rise and Threats, and we still have another team trying to come right over the top. That's Blake and Lawrence, as we see Shawnee get a knock onto Spade there. Don't forget, Spade and Trimp, they were second in the last FNCS. No slouches themselves, but Shawnee and Polo, the newcomers, say, make a little bit of room.
Make some room, give us space. As they continue to pop off here. Blake and Lawrence, though, this is their drop. They slide on in here. They understand this place very, very well. They try to take advantage with the sneak attack there, but they get outed. They get spotted. And they have to disengage now, give a little more room. Shots trade, back and forth. Nothing good comes from it. And Blake calls for the disengage. Let's back up here. Give us some room. Let's wait this one out. We need to get to the zone.
And this is another prime example of what I talked about with Peterbot last time, with how they're rotating around and they're using the natural line of sight to break it. And brilliant shots from Blake. You see him calm that immediately. He's like, yeah, shield broken. We're good on Surge now. As that puts them pretty much 103 above. They were under, straight up with that.
That's actually huge right there. And a big setback for the NRG boys on the other side. So goes Blake and Lawrence now gets to continue to play this one out a little bit more comfortably. They're not completely safe just yet. Pamsto and Thatch are not safe either. 3 damage below. They have a team that is trying to rotate and actually in a box fight between one another. These are Fresh builds, but not putting that extra pressure. This could backfire if they don't take advantage of the fight.
But they are one of the few teams who's actually in the safe zone right now. So the zone will need to full close before Surge turns on, and they're going to have plenty of shots as they're on that northeast part. So like I said, everyone who's on the north going to have a hard time rotating, as we see Polo and Shawnee keeping it going. They end up finding yet another one. Jamper gets a knock onto Pudge. However, Haji turns the script a little bit on the Capilot duo there, with Shawnee being taken down. But now Pamstu trying to find some shots here, but building with hard metal right off the start. If you're not able to continually keep the pressure, and in particular the Striker Burst really isn't that strong against metal builds.
Yeah, definitely starts to fizzle out once that HP pool starts to heal on up. Thatch and Pem have, however, found a couple tags, enough to get them above the Surge for now. But these opportunities that are presenting themselves, you cannot miss those shots, and they know that. Whoa, nice job there to find a couple of extra. So at least it starts to add up. Meanwhile, Jeff and Oliver OG in a battle against TK. This is not looking good. In the feed, though, Blake goes down to the hands of NRG's Clix. Also, Wall Taker takes out Nico as well. That's just at that bridge. As you can see, teams have to rotate south here. And for the first time in a while, they have to come south and center as well. So it's not a zone they've played very much today. This weekend has definitely given us a nice variety, but for Jeff now, he's got to pop off here. I like the movement. Great reset on the edit there. He's going to start to back up, but the shots have to connect in order for them to stay in this game here.
So they're going to get back down here as the 25 damage every 5 seconds is going to come through. Clix ends up picking up fair with that duo as Lawrence goes down Stair, getting on the board here with Mason. But right now, Oliver OG, Jeff, wall to wall. On the opposite side, you have Playify trying to just disengage TK. Also trying to sweep around the side. They recognize that this duo is underneath the Surge, and as soon as they get the tag, they're going to back up saying, we're good, we'll let Surge finish you off. You can burn through your resources because we know as long as you fight defensively, that's going to be points on the board.
Exactly. The most important thing for them to do is wait and then counter-strike, and they do it just like that. As I was trying to set that call up, Oliver OG just gets blasted, and down he goes. Playify and TK will take full advantage of the chance here. They have the Surge tags they need. They get the refresher as well, as that team did not pause to heal, so plenty being rewarded from that battle. Meanwhile, Spinx and DeQuinton in the distance are also in the Surge there in a fight for their own. So a lot of battles being broken out there. Great team unison as TK and Playify hop in, secure the loot, and it's looking good for them.
That was a fantastic defensive fight from TK and Playify, recognizing that the opposing duo was under the Storm Surge, using the audio cues and the shield break to be able to then capitalize and find an angle to be able to take him out. Right now, current 4th place duo trying to push just above that 200 point mark, sitting at 199, but only 31 above, and there's only one duo is being hit by it right now. Spinx is taken out by Mars.
That's one down. One more needs to go down in order for the Surge to turn off. But if that one finds a couple tags, I think Thatch and Pam are the next up to start getting targeted by Surge. They are a little too close to that border there. Now skating across, trying to get to that new safe zone. The pockets of play are starting to really build up on these outskirts for Peterbot and Bila. They have gotten here early. 2 Elans already are going to set them up for success here. Launchpad in the inventory again. Fighting for it at the Collider has been the difference these last 2 games.
And Surge has turned off. We have 70 players, but important to note too, we have 35 duos. Not a single solo is up right now. Everybody has a buddy, so no riders coming through. And right now we're going to kick it on over to SBG. Show us what you got.
Y'all just saw Peterbot and Byler were over Surge for the first time in a while. They're not worried about it. So were all of our top 3 teams, Bugha, Miro, Walltaker, and Cold. All of them in a really good position, and that's why we didn't have to worry about them in this Surge.
So much SBG, and there's a reason these 3 have not moved from the top of the table. When it comes to complete gameplay so far, they have been the most consistent, finding the elims. But I also have to give a little bit of a shout out there to Pamsu and Thatch, because they have significantly less elims than almost all of these teams. They don't kind of hit that same high mark when it ends up coming through, but they capitalize on their opportunities, and they're more than happy to just play for the placement and pick up those points.
Yeah, and you know what? Today has been a true showing of what they're capable of, really just jumping their way on up. They're on the rocket ship onto the top, and they're in that 4th place spot, honestly, on the heels of 30 seconds.
I mean, you say today is showing what they're capable of. Don't forget, they won game 1 yesterday, right? They came shooting out of the barrel, but like we talked about, after winning game 1 yesterday, they were still in 3rd place, as we see Thatch saying, Sundown, what do you mean we can't get Elam? Shawny goes down, Hide and Seek finds Polo as well, and that duo is eliminated.
That's huge for Hide and Seek, but Hide and Seek gets traded there in the process, and so does Net, so they're down and out. After again fighting their way into the top 10, they get taken out here. So it's been a very rocky back and forth fight between them. But let's see how it all unfolded. It's because of the momentum push from Thatch and Pamso here, putting in their 2 cents into that pocket, forcing that engagement to happen between all of them, and they reap the rewards of the fight. They didn't, however, get all the loot, but they got some of it, which is so important.
And you can see how the zone now has pulled back over to the east. We have 1, 2, 3, about 4 natural high grounds all around the edge. That's very important in the 4th zone, because the 5th is going to be that half in, half out. The safe zone is no longer completely concentric, and that means you want to be piling in around the outside to try and maximize your chances of pulling half in, half out. Right now, 5th and 6th right on top of each other. Aegis and Kanata right next to Joji and Rokane, but they're all looking outwards, waiting for people to come in.
He absolutely needs to get active right now. They need just a couple more tags to buy themselves some room here. Jamper, who's in 9th place alongside Duke, gets tagged there in the process. They might just look to fully commit here, but will they do it is the real question, because that's going to put the tournament on the line here. The walls are weak, though. There's a chance here.
Walltaker ended up getting an elimination. They're on to Golden, so they're continuing to try and close the gap for Kanata. Aegis trying to find some room. Degen, Death end up finding one, and Degen and Ionzo, they're on the opposite side. They continue to creep their way up. That's Adam. That's his pick, trying to make a way in the conversation here, but immediately open up the edit and the spray comes back. That's Walltaker and Cold trying to punish this team, saying, what you doing, open it up, as we see Scare finally getting their day 2 rolling as Duke and Jamper go down.
Now, Kanata has 400 light ammunition, plenty to work with, but on the side here, looks like Miro and Booga have found some success. They found a couple elims that's going to set them up right now, but they're inside the storm.
And a couple of elims were on to Clix and Day, who we know always carry just a ton of extra utility because of the amount of chip they get. And we're going to take a look to see what those elims were.
Let's take a look at how it went down. Oh my gosh, that high fire rate shotgun comes through and just shreds things to pieces. And that's how they find the loot. That's how they get an additional launch pad to work with. But meanwhile, 4th place is down. We have Pam still being hurt here. Big incoming fire from the lobby as well. I don't think it's going to alleviate at all, and this might be it. Thatch is down, Pamstu is out, and 4th place is wrapped up.
And that is exactly why I talked about the priority positioning on top of the rocks or the hoodoos there. It makes it so difficult if you are one of the other teams. If you build up even a little bit, it gives them a prime line of sight. You basically have to tuck in underneath, but then you don't have anybody to shoot at. As now, we don't have a 5th zone Storm Surge. We're at 50 players. We're at 25 duos. Everybody has a buddy here going into our game 10. We'll have 2 more games after this, but right now the question is, can Peterbot and Byla ice it? If they're able to make it into the end game, we could be talking about the dub being secured right here, right now.
Definitely a possibility. And just like that, with every team that falls, there is only 2 more chances. This is game 10. It's the final stretch now. If you're inside that top 10, you have to dig deep. If you're Cold and Scented, most importantly here, you have to pop off. These are your chances. It's going to come down to the eliminations. If they want a chance at first, they have to close that gap quite literally in any way possible. Because like we said, placement points are not going to be enough when you have that #1 team being so consistent. And here it is. Bizzle getting pressured now. There's an opportunity here. Not enough aggression from the other side. They take advantage of the storm and an excellent play to catch him up. A beautiful cone there. The right camera peek. I love it. It's textbook. And they catch 2 for their efforts. Nicely done there. And just like that, 6 more points. Placement as well. All get divvied out.
And they have priority on the zone. Granted, they are on low gun, and it's going to be a little bit of a tough maneuver around it, but everyone has to go past them, which is it puts them in a great spot. But speaking of a great spot, Muzz and Avery just looking down on everyone. If you have height in these zones, it tends to be the fact players don't really have an opportunity to look up and retake. And Walltaker gets another one, some phase-on-phase crime there. As Mega goes down, Cold's going to get the confirmation. They continue racking up the points.
In just a couple of seconds, they have earned so many points. These are those big games we were hyping up and we're talking about that can definitely happen. And this is why you cannot count out players that are inside the top 3. Peterbot takes a huge shot there, though. If he goes down again outside that top 20, there's going to be more and more opportunity for Booga, for Miro, for Scented, for Cole to start to hop back up and take hold of that #1 spot.
And we saw Miro yesterday in game #1. Booga went down, and then he picked up basically every possible solo in Elam at the last final minute. But now we're going to swing on over as Kanata ends up taking down Walltaker. He's going to find that one, and that is massive as it puts Cold as a solo. And honestly, Walltaker has been doing a lot of the work. Typically, we see Cold is the one who's having a bunch of those Elams because, like his name suggests, he's the one who's pressuring the wall while Cold does all the cleanup. But instead, great level change, dropping all the way down, recognizing the fact that he has the utility. If he can just find a little bit of breathing space, but nobody wants to give it to him, might end up playing the backside of the zone, tries to find a short pad, but everyone already built it up, but instead he finds a 158 insta knock. Cold, that was gross!
On Savoyo there in a big exchange, more points for him, and he is fighting his way into this game now. And talk about,
Byla down.
You really get to see how good he is, how mechanically skilled this player is, the way that he managed to escape that play, but now stay alive and continue to fight for more. Meanwhile, on high ground, it's Muzz battling it out, just trying to hold on to dear life here, but Cold is the man of the hour. This is a solo. What can he do? He gets taken out just inside the top 15.
Now all my eyes are on the lower part of the screen. Booga and Miro are there, but Avery and Muzz have gone from 12th to 8th on just this one. They're trying to put a stamp on it. Don't forget about Muzz, the OCE transplant. He won an FNCS and NE, the only one to come across, and he's trying to win it here now, trying to push through, put his name in the hat with the final 2 games left, trying to find a little bit of daylight, getting wall to wall, dropping down. He has no builds. It's all going to be about how well he moves.
Kanata and Aegis end up on height. How in the world did this happen here? And not only that, their competition is down. Their competition is out. This could be a chance to go ahead and snatch up third, but Bugha is still alive here. He's still working this low ground right now. 254. He is closing that gap onto that #1 spot. Give him some more points here. He is so hurt. The Siphon was not enough to keep him alive, but a top 6 is not bad. Talk about a hero's effort to clutch up. Now, the story's on to Acorn and Edgy, who managed to find their way into 15th place. A comeback story here on day 2 for not only Kanata and Aegis, but Edgy and Acorn as well. They've been playing this low ground. They're a flexible team. They do it well.
They still up on the high ground. Aegis, Kanata raining down shots, walkers and stairs, trying to get their day 2 rolling as they make an end game here. Top 5, and they're one of the duos who is still up. We have a couple solo riders around, but Acorn trying to be as strong as an oak here, finding shots around the outside. So Splash Swim team at only 3 builds, but the control from the low ground. He finds Melito on the backside, still looking for more elims. They add 4 onto the title, and they're into the top 4.
Your Kanata and the Aegis on high ground, though. You do not want to let these elims get away from you. Basically, this is why Kanata's hopping in. That's why D-Roll is down. Now Walkers is down, so Kanata's already found 2, and they're putting in their 2 cents into this conversation. There goes the finish. It's a 2v2. 4th versus 5th. This is a leaderboard implication battle right now, and Aegis has the advantage. Kanata jumps down. He's bold. He's willing to risk it all right now for the highlight. The play comes through. A pre-shot onto Edgy. That's a huge one. Kanata with the angle. He's so quick, you can't even see him, and it's all over.
Aegis, Kanata take away game number 10, and all of a sudden, with 2 games left, a little bit of stall on that front train. They ran off the tracks trying to get the wheels back on, but everyone else, they see the daylight at the top and they start reaching it right now. Aegis, Kanata trying to push through it. I mean, just a brilliant use of the duo. They're taking 2 separate 1v1s and like, you got yours? Yeah, I got mine. Sick.
And that's what a top tier duo will do. That is how a top tier duo plays out those end games. Aegis and Kanata, and we talked about how they lost their vehicle early that time. They didn't even need it to make those rotates. They play so smart and then secure a huge win. Kanata had 8 elims there.
And being able to run it out, we talked about it. You need the elims if you want to climb up the board, and they are one of the first teams we've seen make the most of having that high ground in the southern zone. Most other teams, they just wanted to hold on and take the victory royale. They were like, enough of that. Let's get some points. Let's get some elims to see where we sit. Let's send it on over. Adam, Vivid, SVG.
You couldn't even write at this stage. Amazing. 4th and 5th place together in the last 2 teams alive. Fantastic stuff. But Acorn, Neji, Kanata. I mean, this is the battle on the desk here. The predictions as well. But again, fantastic stuff. Even Mira and Bugha there in the end game. We're seeing our top teams right now accumulating points. And Vivid, the leaderboard is going to be all over the place right now. I can't wait to see it.
The leaderboard is going to be all over the place. The biggest switch up coming from Aegis and Kanata. Very aggressive high ground take, using that SMG to just apply pressures up there. And then Aegis on the side, building up while Kanata is applying that pressure. Just a well done high ground take, but Kanata, what are you doing? 8 eliminations in game 10 of an FNCS Finals to put your team in 4th place? I mean, like, come on, and then Sundown mentioned it. Winning the ones at the end. You got to win your ones, and you got to win your games.
Oh, yeah, dude just said shing, shing, shing. I'm taking all the elims this game. But most impressively, you often see players try and make hero plays. And that means just dropping down, trying to win the game by yourself. But these two, they get some pressure, they get some damage, then it's like, okay, now we're ready to drop down. You don't dictate the terms of this game. We're taking the game into our own hands and able to grab that victory royale. Beautifully played by them. Beautiful high ground take, and then just clean it up with that sweet victory royale.
Look, it's no fluke that Kanata has been consistently in FNCS finals time and time again. This is why he's here, and this is why he is entertaining all of us right now. And as we said, it's going to be very interesting looking at the scores. Let's look at Cold's duo as well for a second here. Now, obviously, we've seen a 2nd position for a long period of time here. Let's take a look at the game here, and we can see that it's been interesting. Cold and Walltaker, eliminations again here, Vivid, and managing to put themselves on the leaderboard. Bizzle and Diogo there head-to-head. Interesting stuff.
I mean, this was just so clean to find Bizzle and Diego. And then quickly after, Sundown mentioned it, phase on phase crime, finding Mega and Dubs going into this endgame with 5 eliminations. However, I do believe they ended up going down shortly after, which gave Bugha and Mira a little bit of room to run with.
Yeah, we see Scented or Walltaker trying to go for a high ground play. That's almost unheard of, but he started to do it. Now understanding the versatility, maybe he's taking some notes out of Pam and Thatch's playbook. Understand you got to play all the layers and look for plays, but look at the leaderboard. We actually had a change in our top 3.
Man.
Mira and Bugha overtaking Cold and Scented.
Look at this leaderboard right now, and this is obviously the first team to surpass 300 points. Peterbot and Violet at the top, they're 303, but they haven't really, the last few games, it hasn't really changed much for them. Vivid, we can see there as well, 258, Mira and Bugha right behind them now with 2 games to play.
Oh yeah, right behind them. Listen, this gap looks huge, right? But compared to what it was before, it has definitely changed. And honestly, I keep looking at the elims for Peterbot and Violet. The reason they were doing so well on the leaderboard was that they had 41 eliminations. I believe it was after like game 1 today. Over the last 3, I think they've only gotten 2 eliminations. And with 2 games left to play and this gap closing after every single game, they got to be a little worried.
They have to be a little worried, but you know who's not worried? Everyone in our top 10. Like, this is a who's who of Fortnite in NA East. Just look at every name. If we had to predict, which we did, they're all right here. Like, that is phenomenal.
We didn't do bad. We didn't do bad, did we? I mean, the thing is as well, look at this. Quanti and Larson, we talked about these guys yesterday, obviously going up against Cold and Walltaker as well on that POI. Switched up decisions there, but Crypto 14 places now. 14 places, particularly in prize pool money. Forget bragging rights aside here. Incredible stuff now creeping to the top 10. But Mira and Bugha move up 1 place into 2nd position right now. The reigning FNCS champions, Vivid, are right there. This is exciting stuff because there's only about 45 points in this now. Is it possible, boys? Vivid, is this possible now?
It's very possible, and honestly, Mira right here, absolutely phenomenal play. We saw in 7th zone right there, when we tuned in right there, Mira had 9 builds. He goes into the zone, just finds like 2 eliminations out of nowhere, and gets like 100 builds out of nowhere, and then he calls Bugha. He's like, hey, come down to the low ground. We have it. Mira popped off, keeping his duo in this chase for 1st place.
And they still are so close. They've been trying to bridge that gap this entire time, and it's starting to become within striking distance. If they have one solid victory royale with a let's call it 8 elims, and Peterbot and Violet go down, everything is up for grabs, and you got 3 games left, right?
And that's the thing, right? Like, there are still 2 games left to play. I have no idea what's going to happen. Anything can happen, especially in that top 5, top 10. I cannot wait to see what these teams have for us.
Indeed, you know, as well, you backstage, us 3, you know, we know the guys as well, we're all absolutely buzzing for this. Because you want to have a close final, right? You want it to be close because it's entertaining for everybody.
Oh yeah, as a fan of Fortnite, seeing this go back to back and just seeing all these teams make their shot, throw their punches, try and get in those top spots, that's what you love about this game, and that's what we've been loving, just watching this game. Shout out to the players for putting on another amazing show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, you know, we have 2 games of the penultimate game we're going into now. What will happen in the final chapter of FNCS Chapter 3 Season 2? We'll have to find out. It's all to play for. Let's head over to the casters and let's see exactly how this one goes.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And if the NA East Finals had been a novel, it looked like we were heading to that climax point where Peterbot and Violet were going to have the resolution, be the protagonist, be the hero, and we'd slide into the denouement. But all of a sudden, everyone has risen up and saying, nuh-uh, I'm the main character today.
They're getting into the conversation. They're injecting themselves into this storyline that's unfolding, and we are quite literally seeing what is the impossible possible. Our number 1 team, Peterbot and Violet, have had a struggle of the last 3 games, but they have built such a strong lead that they are still holding on to dear life, but it's only becoming closer and closer now. Here comes the bus split from the west to the east side, another different change of pace here for the players.
Yeah, not necessarily one that we have seen before, as we will end up being slightly more north here. It should give an advantage to the teams who are landing right up top on the airships, specifically DJ and Iamzo. If they're able to find one of those striker bursts, they could put shots down, but unfortunately unfortunately, Ranger going over into the hands of DGen, and no shot's going to be coming out here. As we'll see, the scan will come out. They're looking for the information, trying to figure out where the play is, as they're currently sitting in 7th place. If you're just joining us, we got 2 games left, and what had been a runaway train, a horse all the way out in the front, whatever metaphor, allegory you want to use, well, that's changed very quickly.
Yep, it definitely has. 50 points now separate number 1 and 2, and honestly even number 3, our 3rd place team, who's now managed to jump on up. Also, shout out to Kanata and Agers, who are slowly creeping up into that conversation as well. That means, you know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th place, who knows where these teams are going to end. A lot of money is on the line here. Big fights unfolding even down here at this drop right now. This time around, Trashy and Glaze wrap it up quickly, and they get themselves a nice little 6 points and a chance to continue to play this out.
Yeah, but again, Roken and Joji just throwing shots over from the side, and you can see that damage coming through. They want to at least get the tags down, but they recognize the fact that, hey, if you can catch somebody out in the open early, they don't have the builds, and in fact, Trashy only has 1, and he has to stick the revive. If he pulls off the revive, Glaze will tick his HP out. He has to sit here. He cannot pull off of him, which means if the Quentin gets a line, if Roken and Joji can see this happening, they'll take him out, but no, Glaze back up on his feet, and that is so huge, despite it just being a tiny, minute little thing.
Yeah, you do not want to go down, especially this early. It sets you off by so many different things. You have to figure out how to get the save off safely, how to get your loop back in. It's not just you get taken out. It's like, dude, we're set back. We're starting off at a huge negative. Think of it that way. Peterbot and Bile on the other side. Mythic, again, this Mythic pickup, the Mythic AR is so important. It's crucial to Peterbot's success. It does more damage than any of the other burst options.
And you see Peterbot is still in first with total elims at 30. And we talked about that. Last time we saw that stat, it was 28, and that was like 3 games ago after game number 1, as Vivid pointed out here. So there's still daylight, right? And we've talked about, oh, they haven't been as consistent as they were, but they're still getting the first round of placement points. They're still finding at least a elim. And again, with only 2 games left, they're playing tournament management mode. They're not playing to blow the top off. They're not trying to hit that match point for the 475 and the 3 wins. They know if they can put up a 15, a 20-point game here, it's over.
It's wraps, and they have 2 chances to do it. And it also shows us they're just human. Guys, put yourself in there, in that position. You're coming into finals day 2. You have a huge lead. You know how much pressure there is on a fresh team like that to go ahead and pop off and stay consistent. But through these 10 games, 1st through 5th are separated by the exact amount of 89 points as last season. So we have quite literally been here in some metaphorical way before, but this time it's new teams up at the top. And that means the last time we were here, Miro and Bugha were in that conversation.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's some new teams up at the top, but again, Kanata and Agers basically don't let themselves be outside of that top 10 conversation. Kanata continuing that run, continuing that streak, and Bugha and Miro, they're looking to keep putting another title on the board, and it is not out of reach yet. Like we said, Peterbot and Bilo, they basically picked up the trophy, and they're on their tiptoes trying to put it up on the shelf, but there was a little bit of a stumble. They couldn't quite reach just yet. They're going over, and they're trying to pick up that step stool to give them that one little boost they need to bring home the prize.
That's right. Mom and Dad are not here to lift you up, son. You got to do this one on your own. So we'll see if they can pick that trophy up. We're getting closer and closer now, guys. These are the final moments, the final games of NAEs. The Sustrip, man, representing that back bling. We love to see it.
I was just about to say, man, that back bling looks good. Got to give a shout out again, all my coworkers over at Epic, whether it is that new FNCS, the Championship Striker outfit, the back bling, the Action Champions 2.0. Man, it looks good, but you can see back in the action right now, Acorn Edgy trying to get up on the high ground, and Avery actually going to pick up a knock on the Av. So we have a nice little stat in the top right-hand corner of 21 NAEs teams that have won multiple games in the final. Only one has been champs. Monster, I know this answer. Who do you think it is?
Of the 21 NAEs teams that have won multiple games in the finals, only one has been champs. I mean, that has to be Bugha and Miro, right? They're clearly champions. They've definitely won games. Or is it Pam's doing fast because Pam's picked up 2 victories today, but he has a championship from the FNCS Invitation? Like, where does the line go here? I think we could have multiple winners.
Okay, is that your final answer? Because I know it's wrong. It's Yuzu and Justice going through in that triple, and they had a fantastic run during that trios one. Good effort. Like I said, going for a little bit of recency in there, but you have to remember, during that run in trios, everyone looked at it, was like, wow, who's this team? But they really were able to push through. But enough reminiscing in the past. We'll get to the present here, as the tables have turned for the first time in what feels like the entirety of the FNCS. Now Clix is the one being hunted, being hounded, trying to fight a defensive fight when he's been the aggressor the entire time, and Jeff and Oliver are looking to punish.
The really cool part about this as well is both of these teams have had somewhat of the same pacing tournament over the last 2 days. 25th on 24th. It is very much an even playing field right now, all across the board here. Jeff and Oliver OG, one of the more exciting teams you love to root for, because who doesn't want to see players like Jeff and Oliver OG continue to just make strides for the scene? They're going against one of the scariest on the scene. Clix puts up a huge shot right there. This is going to punish Jeff. It's going to make him rethink that peak. And where's his teammate? Why is he by himself?
And you see, there's an elimination on Oliver. I'd assume Oliver maybe have been able to already pick up Day on the opposite side, and they just took the fight to Clix and Day before they could end up getting ambushed, which, hey, sometimes they say the best defense is a good offense, and it seems like these guys have had enough of being snuck up on, but right now, Clix hitting the edit course, trying to dodge, dip, duck, dive, and then maybe find some eliminations, find some points, but this is a very good opportunity to try and get away. Unfortunately, not going to be able to slip out that back door. It gets slammed in his face.
It all makes sense. That is going to be the second elimination. Jeff had the first one. Oliver gets the second there. So all of a sudden, a big 6-point swing there. Nice little pickup for them. They continue to march on here in the game. Peterbot and Bila, however, once again, when we saw them in this spot, it didn't look too hot. They got here a little too early before. They tried to play this out 2 games ago, and it was Glace and Trashy who really gave them a problem, sort of slowed them down. Already it's looking like it's cost them a fair bit. There's an inventory slot open in Bila's inventory, and it should not be like that, especially since they come out of such a powerful drop spot.
And Peterbot and Bila's day 1 points would currently have them in 5th. So if they hadn't queued up in any of the games today, hadn't played a single one of them, they would still be in that top 5. However, the difference for what they've gotten today hasn't necessarily been what they want. We've talked about how it wasn't the same performance we saw, whether it was in Qualifier 1, where they came through in first place, or in day number 1 here in the finals. However, as much as we've talked about that train stalling, they can still win it right here, right now in this game. And one thing I do want to note is the positioning on the zone is huge in this circumstance, because where they normally like to box up and search for tags is right on the edge of the zone.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, listen, we're excited to see what is going to happen from here. But can you imagine the families of these players, the org owners, everyone that supports them, the fans at home? They're like, come on, you can do it, just one more game. But it has been so difficult. And you know what? Every good story has a difficult background attached to it, so we'll see. Meanwhile, Cold goes down. Huge knock from Walkers. Do not underestimate the new players. Walkers and Scared Bear, they are scary. Remember, they land at Command Cavern. Sensei and Cold hold the bridge just northwest by Tilted Towers. It was inevitable that they were going to cross paths. That could quite literally be the knock in the storm there. We'll check in with that. Meanwhile, Pamso and Thatch also not looking too hot right now. They're trying to bounce into this game here. They're not safe by any means, but let's take a look at what's unfolding. Cold is down. Walltaker solo here. He's holding it out. They are in the fortress.
Yeah, and he's just going to hang out and wait. The big thing here is he doesn't want to give up a single audio cue, because Scare and Walkers know he's around somewhere. We saw this yesterday, right, in the final game in game number 6, but the shoe was on the other foot, where Cold hung out forever in the zone, had a ton of heals, and he got the reboot off on Walltaker, and it was the first time we've seen a team at NAEs reboot and then get the W. And if you could ever use a repeat of that performance, it is right now. And I mean, luckily for him, he doesn't have to wait near as long as they saw yesterday.
They do say history repeats itself. Let's see if the Walltaker and the Cold can do it here in this game. This is game number 11. So another chance, and if there's a team that can do it, it's them. They've been so consistent. They've really managed to continue to play well. There was 2 opportunities, though, that they could have just rocketed their way up and closed that gap. But hey, we're here. We're now. The past is the past. Let's hop into Kanata and Aegis right now, who are trying to set themselves up with some surge tags. A lot of damage being taken here. Not really what you tend to see from this duo. And you know what? I think they completely abandoned the vehicle strategy. I think they said, you know what? forget the vehicle. That was holding us back. We're just going to go on foot. Let's just play this out. We need to take trades, right? We need to literally fight.
So when everyone had a vehicle on the map, it was fine because everyone's driving around. They're not going to be throwing shots. The second all of the other ones are removed, what is everyone else doing? They're getting up onto a natural high ground. They're investing a decent amount of their stone because it's pretty easy to then go and reform. And then they're throwing shots down. And if you see a car driving by, you best believe you're shooting the tires, you're shooting the windshield, you're shooting the players in it, because you're not letting that move to the next zone. As right now, great shots from Edgy.
And think about that. That just sets you back, right? It will set you off. It'll honestly give you a disadvantage to try to fight back and defend yourself. As Edgy and Acorn right now are doing a great job defending themselves, holding other players down who are just in that low ground area. And this is just a beautiful spot for the zone to land on top of them. They have the mountain, which is safely harboring them. You know, natural protection from the team down low.
Wait,
but hold
how?
up. Bugha is in a world of trouble here as he has to save Miro. They are 197 damage below the surge. You have teams poised up in general areas. The wall being shot here, that could have been the result of a huge sniper shot. I don't know how else they would have been falling that quickly. And now you have this team hounding their way on in. That could be Blake. That could be Lawrence. That could be Voyo. That could be XF. There's so many good teams around here.
And that is huge, particularly because if you look above the map on your right-hand side, they're 226 below. They're posted up trying to find these shots, and when you peek a little bit too much, if that was a sniper bullet or even just a coordinated 3-2-1 from somebody else, it's put them in this position where they don't have a choice to rifle. They're wall to wall. This could be their tournament right here, right now, fighting against Cobalt and Smack.
Let's keep in mind, Cobalt and Smack have not won their drop-off fights very often, so this is the first time they're actually surviving. They could just be cold on the hands, quite literally. How fired up are they? How badly
all fired
do
up,
they want it?
apparently.
Those are some great tags coming back from Cobalt there. Lovely to see them put that pressure down, but no trades coming from the process. They are still 200 below. They haven't actually made a move yet, but they have 30 seconds here. They can play for it.
But you can see already, Smacked and Cobalt, they're ready for it. They've invested so much of their metal to immediately great recognition from Bugha and Miro to go to the side where the metal was at least full build, but you're still pushing into metal builds, and they get chipped down 10 seconds out. They have to use utility to get in fighting shape and go.
This is why you leave Bugha to do the pre-edited wall phase right there. You try to actually grab those walls. The drum shotgun here on Miro's loadout is actually great synergy, but look, it's cost him so much. Bugha actually had to edit his way out that box because he took way too much. Meanwhile, Kazahu Fishy are shooting in as well. That means they need Surge. That's the windmill team here. Bugha jumps back on up. It's all or nothing. It's here and now. They have used all their quick heals. They're basically down to the wire now. What is going to happen here? They have one more chance to commit to this box right here and find success. Bugha and Miro have to dig deep and do it now. That's a wall take here. But don't back up here. You need to do something. Kaz and Fishy want to come on in. They say, hey, this team's solid. We need to change course. They go back towards Kaz and Fishy. 98 below. They need a couple more tags. Come on, Bugha.
He has no shotgun.
One more tag.
He has no shotgun. How is he going to make it happen?
These are big. Tries to go for it. 2 zaps away from getting sent back to the lobby. It's not enough. No tag there either, Sundown. I'm afraid this is it. Bugha's out. It's all up to Miro here.
He's diving in, trying to find it with the drum, with 51 HP in a dream, but the dream turns into a nightmare. They get cleaned up, and they are down. The second place duo, the biggest challengers to Peter, Bot, and Bila have been dropped. Now, Walltaker and Cold still have an opportunity to push for it. 162 above, and they're trying to find an angle, but Walltaker takes the entirety of his shield there. That's Bizzle and Diego on the backside, making things difficult for them.
And if you're Peter Bot, if you're Bila, you're rubbing your hands together right now. You're feeling so good seeing those teams that are on your heels fall so early. Meanwhile, you have Kanadas and Agers. They do have that vehicle. Scratch what we said before. They're using it, but they're playing outer edge zones instead of center pieces, and it's working out well for them. We love to see adjustments day in and day out. Scarebear and Walkers here, though, have to keep finding tags. They're now 230 below. They do have a launch pad, and I'm afraid they're going to have to use it to get up on a box here. As on the other side, a team just boxes up on Cold. It's not looking good.
Cold has to make this play happen. They have no other choice. If they want to win, it's right now, because if Cold and Walltaker are down, Bugha and Miro are down, I'm happy to just give it to give it over to Peter Bot and Bila. And you can see Cold, he is hounding Edgy and Acorn, but he's throwing himself straight into 1v2. But the cannonball will break the build. He takes some chip from the side, doesn't have any extra shield, 40 HP, trying to find something, trying to dive in. No builds, can't cover his sides. Second and third fall.
4th and 5th are alive, though, and that means those spots are up for the taking. And guess what? Peterbot, Byla, they just have a big enough lead to be our FNCS champions today here on the NA East region.
I mean, we don't want to count the chickens before they hatch, but it looks like they're starting to shake a little bit. The little beaks are poking through. That's what I'm saying. The step stool, they placed it at the bottom of the shelf. They're looking around to make sure they can take the steps onto it right now. Joji and Rokane, they're trying to capitalize on the daylight they've been given, though, because, again, if Peterbot and Byla take home the crown, if it looks like they're completely inseparable, congratulations to them. There's still tens of thousands of dollars on the line for each position change. So there's still plenty of dramatics to be had in that denouement, in that falling action. As we get there, we see Bizzle and Thatch getting themselves on the board.
And that's right, that's like 50 points from the players that are around 12th or so, which is one good game, which is this game right here, because now the standings are open. Pamsto and Thatch are one of those teams in that conversation here, currently in the 6th, right? Looking around here, not necessarily finding a chance to take the battle to Duke and the other player on the other side of the wall there, but you know what? They have time. Most importantly, they got to play for the zone here. Out comes the rotates right now. Take a look at how many players are up. 61 are alive, so we are surely setting ourselves up for a surge warning.
Yeah, surge warning will turn on here in just 25 seconds. Once that zone begins to close, you can see Thatch and Pamsto trying to find some side, as we will get a replay here, currently sitting on 0 eliminations. Well, let's make this one as Peterbot starts throwing shots over towards the side, and he finds the one headshot he needs to pick up the 3 points. And hey, sometimes everything just falls your way, Monster.
And that's just all you need, right? You got to give them respect here. Peterbot and Byla have just been a walking highlight reel this weekend. Honestly, since things kicked off, let's take it back to week 1, where they popped off and made the performance, made the statement that they're here.
And we talked about yesterday how it's like, wow, they played such an incredible game, but it was nearly identical to their qualifier 1 performance where, hey, nobody had been qualified through the finals. It was still the top teams in NAE making it there, and they had a slightly better performance there, but now they're doing it in the finals. It's enabled them to be in this position where if they can get past this storm surge and get into the cascading placement points and score even just like 5 points, that's it. They've won.
Definitely, these elims will mean everything to them here and now as they continue to solidify themselves and their legacy, the history that they are writing here today. Pressure coming in from players all around them. They're not completely safe here. And you know what? The options, they're important. 13th, 10th, and then 15th off to the side. All players that are really fighting for a good position here at the end of this day.
But looking at the loadout, Peterbot has a cheeky sniper rifle, and we see people just kind of hang their heads out there when they're utilizing the striker burst, being like, hey, nobody's going to end up having a snipe. Why would they carry that? Well, Peterbot is looking for options, trying to create one extra space right now, so we're going to swing on over to an 8th place team. But Iamzo stuck between a rock and a hard place, trying to find his way into the zone. He's not going to have to worry about that, as half in, half out does reveal, and we only have 2 duos sitting inside of it.
What's crazy is Iamzo is so good. He has been so good. A lot of the times we've tuned into him, and he has made such great plays to continue to keep his team inside the top 10. Not to take away from DGen, whom of course has participated in the bulk of the points, but Iamzo clutching up here. I mean, you saw the content pieces. You see how he thinks and what he thinks about himself. He truly believes he is number 1, and that is the attitude you need if you want to be up at the top. It's that champion mentality. If you want to look up to players like him, that is the one that I'll pick for sure. Like, you just gotta love it.
And the second you start thinking that the people who you're playing with are better than you, or you're like, wow, this guy's pretty good. Yeah, there's a level of respect to it, but also when you know you're that good, you got a little bit of swagger to it. And we've seen that with Iamzo, where he pushes things where a normal player would think, no, these guys are way too good. They're going to punish me for that. Iamzo's like, I'm the best. Let's go.
I'm the best. Let's go. Let's bring that firepower to the door. Let's see it though here. Hold up. Joji lands just by Iamzo there, so 7th place and 8th are now hovering above one another. Meanwhile, Agers and Kanata now in 4th here, still have an opportunity to hop back
Byla down.
to go out and jump in. Byla is down. This is important to the standings. Hey, listen, I know we've been counting them as potentially, it and wraps, but it's not really over until it's over. Peterbot, though, says, hold the phone here. I'm still here. I'm putting up a big fight. That's on some Thatch.
He has to get in the zone
so well. Can he get in? This is where Sprint comes into play. He is alive. Look at the mechanics. It's enough to stretch it a little bit there, but not enough to survive the weather of the storm and the shots. And down they go. more chances now for the lobby.
But a difference of +5 just on the couple of seconds where we tuned in, getting the Elim, getting 2 placement points to take over, and because we have already seen second and third go down, if Agers and Kanata don't put up a monstrous game, it's over. Peterbot and Bila have won, period, full stop. There is absolutely no way somebody else can catch them unless the 4th or 5th place team right now racks off 2 incredible matches.
In what world, and there's a chance, there's a universe where this happens, but 2 teams have to go, or 1 team has to go crazy the next 2 games. Edgy and Acorn can be them. They're already at 5 Elims. I mean, if I had to guess, they're on track right now, Sundown, but that would mean a win here and potentially just a showstopper last game.
Hey man, like I said, you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance.
There's always is. When you see 3 points for Elim, hey, there's 49 other duos in the lobby. You could get everyone. That's some serious points. The reality of the situation, though, is it feels like they've done enough, but who else can get on board? Nexia and Narwhal are just skeet shooting the rest of the lobby. They got great position, raining down shots, but not necessarily the best weapon to punish there.
I like it though. It's just enough to scare them, right? Say, hey, yeah, we're hitting you. You're getting shot. We're pelting your shields down. Don't land on us. We're ready for the fight. And it's just enough of that intimidation to buy themselves some time. Iamzo now still playing by himself, clutching up here. He's managed to find himself way into the top 16 here as far as the teams left alive. That's a lot of placement points. Kanata now slides up into third, down. So he's kind of slide his way on all the way up. Edgy is still going crazy here. He finds another one, but let's go on over to the FaZe Bizzle, who gets taken out by Iamzo once again here, racking up and clutching up some points.
And Edgy got Agers. Edgy got Agers. He said, hey, you think they have a chance? No, we're taking that chance away from them. And now all of a sudden, SPG's prediction, Acorn, Edgy, trying to push through the 33 Infusion Esports players, but Kanata saying, hey, I got my top 10 streak on the line. I'm trying to make the play. Agers already has 3 Elims for him, so he did his work. It's Kanata's turn to turn those tables.
That's right. Last game, Kanata and Agers did so well. Kanata had those 8 Elims. This time, Agers legs is the lobby with 3, so a much better performance for him already. Meanwhile, Rokin and Joji popping off as well. 6 Elims. Can they make it a big 7 here? They're looking for it, but the wall, the floor, it all gets taken in front of him. He has to change course. This is such pro play and high-level play, thinking about all these little minute details while you're in the heat of the moment. Meanwhile, low ground, Avery also alive there alongside Muzz. Edgy's looking down at them. Can he create this melting pot worth of points here? He doesn't find anything, not just yet.
They're trying to find the Elims on the backside of the zone, turning back and finding the players who are just ratting around in those catacombs, picking up everyone who has just thrown themselves into the fray, into the fracas, and look at the angles they're throwing as Diego finally goes down. He had a nice little pair for himself there, but Blake and Lloyd is trying to get themselves back in the conversation. No builds, no white HP on Kanata. That means you are extremely limited to the point where he had no other options, and Rokin and Joji are going to pick it up in great passing from them to head to the front of the zone. We're closing in on the top 5. There's one solo out there. Everyone else has a buddy here in game number 11.
This is crazy. 4th place still in the lobby, 6th place still in the game as well. And then you have a top 10, a new top 10. Who Fishy and Kaz jump their way on in. Edgy starts to get pressure here from high ground. Command Caverns, Elite and Bank are up top trying to secure a victory royale here for the day. Let's see it though. Edgy starts to slide around. They're at 8 Elims now already. There's still a couple more opportunities in front of them though. What is he going to do here? He's sitting inside the storm, but no! Someone swings around and finds a big 2, and that's a 6-point swing, and the placement points as well. Rokaine is going crazy this game.
Rokaine said, you saw the individual effort to get me qualified. You saw what I did at the start of the season. Don't write me out yet. Trying to push through, trying to find everything he can. But Bank and Elite, they're the high ground team. We've been going through and only 2 builds on Joji. You can see him trying to separate the shield out. Rokaine is going to be forced to take the minis. It's all going to be on Joji to create some space and some options. So the 2v2 is coming.
Bank has a win condition. Elite has even more heals. They can actually ride this one out. We have not seen a heal off in the FNCS finals to date. Everyone's been fighting it out to the very last moments, but this is one of those times where you have the win almost just written in stone in front of you, and now you have to wait this out. Elite says, yes, take these heals. You know what? I'm going to commit here. I think I can do this. Low ground doesn't have builds, though. It's going to come down to this wire. Joji will eventually have to fight back.
Yeah, but if they're playing heal off, you do not drop down. Period, full stop. You do not give them Siphon and give them the option. If you are committing to a heal off, you turn and you run into the zone. Don't give them the elimination. Don't give them the Siphon. Keep the control. That's why Bank is up there. And now Elite is dropping down, looking for an angle, trying to find something. But since we still have 43 seconds, there's tons of time.
He's going to back up now. He's going to go in and play this high ground here. They have a lot of ammo to work with as well. Remember, ultimately, you want to do damage as well. If you don't touch them, you don't earn points. And you need those points if you want to get closer and closer to that big prizing that will open up later into the tournament if you can play well. Elite makes a big mistake. He goes down. He takes the full 2v1. He finds one. Elite just by 2v1 this in the end. And he wants the win.
Yeah.
He wants it bad. And he takes that win.
He said, Sundown, you won't drop down because you don't hit shots like I do. Elite and Bank take game number 11. And now the real question is, what dramatics do we have as we get to the end? We'll see the drop down shot. I love that. When he dropped in the water, he had the pre-fire ready. The awareness to pick up the Siphon, and then the swap over and the hip fire with the burst. Very well played.
And this is what pros do best. They keep you on your toes. You never know what's coming. Anyone in their right mind would not jump down. In what world does a high ground team have so much confidence that they take on Joji and Rokane, who are up just about 10 Elans on the game? That was kind of impressive.
Well, they're doing exactly what we're doing. They're looking at the leaderboard and saying, you know what? Those 6 points could be a couple thousand, if not tens of thousands of dollars. Let's put our stamp on it. Let's grab everything we can out of the game. But Monster, one game left to set the stage, to let us know where we're at going into the final moments. Adam, Vivid, SPG.
Thank you so much, boys. One game left. One more game. That's it. One more. There's only one more now. Fellas, they're wrapping things up superbly there for us on game 11. Do you know what's interesting as well? We saw that as well. Bank and Elite forcing the victory royale there, saying, do you know what, we're not messing around. We've got the confidence. We're oozing it right now. We're feeling good. And getting the victory royale. Fantastic stuff there. But Joji and Rokane as well. Another great team who are rising through the leaderboard as well, Vivid.
There is just so much to unfold here. And Elite here, yeah, great drop down. Instantly finds a knock on Rokane, and right here, watch this. He actually goes for the finish there, gets the Siphon, and watch closely. He actually drops down to 38 HP. That means if he didn't actually pick up that Siphon, he would have went down. That ended up saving him. He picks up that final elim and ultimately the victory royale.
Yeah, what a play. But we have to talk about Joji and Rokane able to make a nice push into this end game. They had a great day one. Haven't necessarily seen the same out of them in day two, but here it is. This is what we wanted to see in day two. They started slaying out. They're getting a bunch of elims, finding them on the backside of zone, and making these nice rotates. No one's on high ground shooting at them. We're just going to chill. We're going to kindly pad into zone, and we will take the front side. It's been a nice team to watch as we see Joji and Rokane. They've been pretty consistent throughout multiple qualifiers, whether it be together or with other teammates. Now seeing them here in finals, pushing themselves up the leaderboard. They're at 5th place at the moment on the leaderboard, but I would expect them to be in 3rd, 4th, maybe 2nd once we take a peek.
Yeah, you saw as well there, Vivid, as well. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner there as well, the flip-flopping of the team and position they're in as well, because it is that tight now.
Yeah. Really, really crazy, and some of these teams taking full advantage of the fact that we saw Bugha and Miro go down, had some storm surge problems, which is unlike them for sure. You know, we did see that south zone pull there, but yeah, here we are, big switch up as a result. Bugha and Miro falling 2 places. Acorn, Edgy taking full advantage, going up to that 2nd place. Also, Aders, Kanata want a piece of it as well. Look how close our 2nd, 3rd, 4th place teams are.
SPG, look, I mean, look at this. 4th position here, 258. Then 3 points later, 261. Then 6 points. And then we're looking at fine margins here between 1st and 2nd place.
And it's crazy. Literally every position besides 1st place changed in that past game. So everyone is going back and forth. The final blows are being thrown, but it's going to come down to this last game. Now everyone's put themselves in a position to try and make a play, to try and push themselves up the leaderboard. It's all going to come down to where and how you do in this last game.
And that's crazy, right? One game left. We have been entertained throughout the entirety of these finals, and for it to come down to just one final game. Now, Peterbot and Bila, they are sitting pretty up there, but if they do fall down early, then we do have to pay attention to Acorn and Edgy and potentially even Kanata and Aegis, because let's be honest, a Victory Royale with multiple elims could definitely close that gap instantly.
Are you saying there's a chance?
There's always a chance.
There's always a chance.
You got to keep the storyline there.
On FNCS NE, there's always a chance. It's always possible. Let's talk about that Storm Surge for a second there. Again, that affected Booger and Miro going down early on and affecting the leaderboard considerably as well. They just simply couldn't get out of a tight spot there, Vivid, and it didn't happen for them, but there is that one game left to play.
Yeah, honestly, listen, it was just tough for them. They did end up pulling zone down here. I feel like they spent a lot of the early game kind of rotating towards Butterborn. We know that they always go there to buy those pads. They spent actually a lot of time there to make sure that there was nobody there, because yesterday in day one, they actually had somebody sneaking around in there who actually ended up eliminating them. So that was one of their worst games yesterday. They were trying to be a little bit more mindful today, but it ended up costing them a lot of time and ultimately Storm Surge, and that's why they went down early. But I commend them for making that quick play. It just didn't end up working out.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do. You have to try and make those plays. Nonetheless, we will see them go at it in this last game. They're pretty close. Like you guys mentioned, it's only a few points between second to fifth. It's going to be a battle for everyone trying to get in those positions. Oh, man, I can't wait.
I can't believe it. After all these weeks, 4 weeks, we're finally here. The last game of the season now. This is it. It all comes down to this. I think there's 51 points in first and second, I think, if my maths is correct there. So that is definitely doable. That is absolutely doable. So it all comes down to this. Again, as always, let us know who you think is going to be the FNCS NAE champions. We've worked all this way towards this. It is the final game. It is game 12 of this 2-day finals. Who will be the winners? We're about to find out. It's over to Monster and Sundown. Let's go! It's finals, the last game. Let's do this thing.
One more time onto the island, once more into the fray for all of these duos, and right now a deck of cards separates first and second. Peterbot and Bila have a 52-point lead, which looks pretty good, but as we've seen, everyone just keeps chipping away.
Yeah, especially since our other teams are starting to get consistent here and find their points, but this is it. One more time, let's jump into the battle bus here. Game number 12 of the NAE's finals is underway. What's at stake? A lot of money, a lot of pride, and of course, that FNCS Axe of Champions 2.0. The battle bus is here. It's a south to north split. We've gotten a little bit of everything today, and the zones are keeping us on our toes.
So what we are going to be looking for, one, if you are just joining us, welcome, and where you been, because today has been absolutely fantastic. Some great Fortnite being played, and honestly this whole season. But right now, the stakes. Peterbot and Bila, they were so far ahead coming into today that if they were able to just get enough, they could have secured it even, 2 games ago, but it's stalled a little bit. There's a little bit of room right at the top. However, if they don't go down early, it might as well be over. For everyone else, though, if you're second to 6, you're right on top of each other. A solid performance, or just even a little bit better performance than those teams right next to you, is tens of thousands of dollars.
And that's what's on the line when we watch the engages go down here. But also, even teams like Trashy, Glace, who have struggled and rivaled their way out of this outside the 20th position or so to get to top 19 today has been a statement in its own, and they can win. If they can pop off, they will also get to that top 10 as well. And that's why we mean there are tens of thousands of dollars on the line here. This is the last game of the finals, your last time to just do your best and get a good placement point.
And once you're eliminated here, your FNCS for this season is over. You are done. You will be watching the match play out. Your position on the leaderboard will be set. So you can bet that every single one of these duos is going to claw. They're going to scrape, and they're going to fight for every tag, every positional advantage, every weapon upgrade they can possibly get their hands on. And right now, Peterbot's weaponry is looking the best it's looked in a hot minute.
Definitely all starting to come together here. And when you need it most, when we've been trying to count on them to have that one big pop-off game to just solidify their championship, will it be here? in this last game. If you're an Edgy and Acorn, what you are hoping for, they go down early, you pop off. A 10, 12, 13, 14 elimination game with the win could just be enough to go ahead and take that #1 spot too.
Peterbot gets a confirmation on the Bizzle. Already getting it rolling. Can they get the points to add up? We saw what second place was doing over on the side. We'll take a look at all of our top teams and what they're able to get rolling as right now. Kanata, Aegis just looting up outside. We'll get a replay of that Elim coming through. We'll see what he's doing, where he's able to hawk, and this is the strength of Dr. Sloan's mythic first AR.
Oh
just
my God.
Brop, and one of the best players in NA East gets deleted.
Just like that, quick and easy, wipes his hands clean from the scene, and he is gone like the wind. Peterbot and Byla find themselves a quick 3-point pickup there, and they take one major step towards winning the region. But let's go ahead and look at our other teams on the bubble here. Bugha for the first time now, taking some early game tags here from the distance. It's Larson on the other side. He's gotten a little too close for comfort. He's starting to look inwards. Larson's in 11th overall, so this is a big game and big opportunity for him to stay in the tournament here and earn himself a bigger piece of the cake that's available in front of us. A couple tags come in from Miro from the side. Quanti has to step up and potentially back him up here, or they'll come rolling right through him.
But one of the benefits, too, of having, I don't want to say uncontested chonkers because we've seen the shots come through, but there are so many excess shields in here that you can already see that Bugha is leaving behind minis because they've been able to pick it up. He has a full inventory, 6 splashes, 6 minis, 3 big pots, and he took some chip there. So he's got plenty of time. Now, we talked about coming in today how it was really a 2-horse race. Now it's turned into a 1-horse race, and everyone else right in the pack who is going to be able to sniff out that silver medal, because again, it is over if Peterbot and Byla do not go down. If they are able to hit the 35 placement mark, the 30 placement mark, I mean, I'm happy to call it if they get to the top 25 because we've seen what they've done there, but we're going to be keeping an eye on everyone else, because again, while we might know roughly who our winner is going to be, look at these teams, because this is second in the left corner, third on the right corner, top of the screen is 5th, and there's what, 17 points separating them?
Nothing. Just barely anything separating these teams, and not only that, they all land in such different locations on the map. So really cool to see how all these teams have managed to find success. It's not about where the zones go. It's not about any of that. It's about how well you play your game, and just the fact that we have such a diverse, not only team pool and selection here, but also the caliber of how long and how many hours these guys have been putting into the game. Kanata and Agers, you know, Acorn and Edgy, we're talking hours, countless hours. They've been competing since the beginning of time. They're still here doing it, and they're just showing us why they are the best.
And again, you talked about kind of the new blood in the new era, and while Peterbot and Byla might not necessarily be household names, they've put up performances before, but nobody predicted this going through. And I said a little bit yesterday, I was like, during the top of the show, I'm like, man, I feel like we kind of forgot about them. They played really well in the first qualifier. Nobody's going to be forgetting about them now with the performance they've put out, but who else can catch them? Somebody else who's had an amazing performance today in particular, and even a little bit yesterday, 2 victory royales over the course of the 11 games so far. Pamstone Thatch from that Lighthouse split.
Hey, there's not many teams that can say we picked up 2 wins over the course of the tournament, so it's either all in or nothing for Pam and Thatch here. This is their rotate, this is their strategy, though. Of course, they have this nice little split drop, and look at that.
I was just about to say, and for the first time in a while, the boat actually pulls over towards them, which gives them a little bit more options on the split route, where typically they're happy to end up coming in and grabbing just whatever is on the leftover of Sleepy, because Sleepy does have a ton of extra loot, and the Sleepy teams are being absolutely harassed, as Bugha harasses that team trying to rotate. Headshot, body shot, that's going to make them pretty safe on search.
Big damage right there. Definitely is a step in the right direction. Meanwhile, Voyo and Except are getting tagged as well, and they're going to base up pretty closely. Now, take a look there. It's just wood builds. Bugha and Miro going to notice pretty much a chip in the armor there and possibly look for some angles, but no, they're playing for positioning this time around, something different.
Well, and that's because of where the first zone pulled for what is the first time today, and I believe we only had one other zone that was this far north yesterday. We're going up to the north and the west, so we've been a little bit more central / towards the east. We've only really had one absolutely ridiculous zone, which was that water back and forth. I don't think I've ever seen this chapter. But now we're going to see some early rotations going through. But as the analyst talked about when we're talking about the Collider, this team, they're central already, so it doesn't really matter where the zone pull is because you're going to be able to rotate there, whether it's using the tower that's there or using the launch pad. And we're going to swing on over to what Avery and Muzz are doing, and they're posting up looking for shots.
That's right. It's a great spot to be in. High ground is, of course, key for Kanata, and Adrian's not looking good, though. No HP on Kanata's here. His back is against the wall. He's got a team right on top of him looking to take this fight, and this is what we were talking about with the vehicles. When you are in the vehicle, you can get targeted, you can get shot. You literally start with the foot backwards when you get hit up before you can actually touch down, and it's Day and Clix on the other side of the wall here, so that's no free team at all. See what's going to happen.
And then they also have Fable Taco right on the opposite side of him. Him and Golden, they're pinned down here, but you can see they want to push this fight. They're trying to take it, taking the aggression over to the other side, making sure they replace these walls so they don't get caught with an edit. This is super key because they want to be able to control this position and not get jumped on.
Let's take a look here. Moment intensifies. Kanata and Agers do not really want to take this fight all the way through. Not if it's going to cost them their tournament. They are too close to tasting that silver medal, that potential #1 spot like we talked about here. But hold up, lose the wall from up above. He has to go ahead and go for the re-exchange here. I love the angle plays right now, but Agers gets punished, and they haven't really found anything from this. They've only been tagged up. Meanwhile, here comes the counter shots. Nothing just yet. Clix is quick. He starts swinging his way back and forth there, finding his side angles, and so is Day and Kanata running out of space here. This is actually so bad.
They drop down into one of those tight little crevasses, and that's what we talk about. You have to own as much of the space, because if you get pinned in and Clix and Day aren't getting harassed from the side, we've seen what they can do. They will roll over duos, and this is not the time to roll over and take it, but Clix gets backed off.
Agers fights back. He puts big damage up, and Day is like, nope, I want nothing from this. I'm out of here. He's going to back on up. And just like that, now you have Threats and Rise up top, putting their 2 cents into the conversation, and then another team shows up here, so there's a little too much chaos going on for the likings of Kanata and Agers. They're trying to play nice, slow, and steady here. They find another opportunity on today. Big tags come in, and that is the power of that auto shotgun, the drum shot. You can just see, it just starts to rip players apart. Kanata has to play for the save now.
Not able to necessarily get the confirmation over, and you can see how they're going to trade back, but Clix doesn't want to give them the opportunity, but Hoga and Miro, they're paying attention to the feed. They're saying, hey, no confirms going down, no knocks. Hey, this is plenty of points on the board. Rise is actually going to get the confirmation over, doing a little bit of favor for Agers and Kanata, giving them some room, but Kanata doesn't watch his back, and the 3rd place team goes down to the 4th place team. Miro and Booga say, no, that's our prize money. Get out of here, get out of here.
That's rough, especially when they had the chance to go ahead and do something big this game. And you know what? Vivid's happy right now.
Yeah,
that was our 2 picks going head-to-head. Vivid may have just done it all and solidified what will be his prizing at the end of this. You know, we've been having fun. It's been a very close competition. We'll see what those points look like in the end. You'll see it has been quite a fierce one. But in the end, Vivid does come out on top. Respects.
I mean, when doesn't he? Everybody's copying Vivid's homework. There's a reason for it. Was one of the best players at NA East back in the day. Honestly, you could probably still throw him in these lobbies. They do a little bit of damage, but we're going to swing on over. Roken and Joji currently sitting in 6th place. There's a little bit of room, and honestly, this is very much a change in game place, because it seems like everybody realizes that, hey, outside the top spot, there's money to be made. In game number 12, we usually see a lot of outward aggression, people trying to just do what they can to climb up, but they know if they make endgame, there's opportunity for more to come. And right now, Peterbot and Violet saying, hey, we're getting rid of that cannon. We want nobody flying in here. We'll control the variables. But one thing to note, look at the map and look above. They're only 68 damage above Storm Surge, which will do 25 damage every 5 seconds to the teams who have not done enough tags. And this has been the only time they've struggled. And right now, as soon as I call it out, 3 huge tags.
Definitely watching the field like a hawk here. Anything that moves is going to go ahead and get the focus, that laser focus and attention put on it. Wall Taker down to the bottom here, looking pretty solid above the Surge. Edgy and Acorn looking great as well, leading that 2nd place spot still ahead of the competition. Wall Taker and Cold jumped into that last fight head first and got punished this time here, though. They're starting to reset. They're taking it nice and easy, slow and steady, and you can tell their loadout is just mix of what they can find, trying to make do with the game.
They need to play endgame. We have seen Walltaker, a.k.a. Scented, throughout the entire. He's known as the Low Ground King. In fact, he loves changing his names to all these ridiculous things. We've seen Low Ground King. We've seen Walltaker. But if you don't get in that position to abuse what is your strongest trait, it makes it so difficult to pick up points here when you're playing against the best of the best, when all the pressure is on the line. But somebody who thrives in that pressure has been absolutely born in it. Dignitas Miro, Sentinels Bugha. If anybody is able to rack off a big game here and push him in the second, it could be them. But right now, Edgy and Acorn under pressure, and they're actually going to slam down an armored wall as Edgy has been knocked. Shots are raining in all the way from the side. Acorn trying to stick the revive, but shots bleed through. Edgy going to get dropped down, and Npen trying to toss this in. Acorn takes a bunch of damage, and Edgy's going to get finished here in a second. If Acorn doesn't walk up and splash him, Edgy is confirmed. This could be it right here, right now.
That is so unfortunate. Acorn did get the full elim though, so he picks up one, but one is not enough when you lose a teammate in the process. And it's Byla, Peterbot, Quanti, Larson, the other teams that are looking at this fight and shooting inwards. And just like that, they are affecting the storyline here. They are solidifying their placements in this tournament, and they are making it that much clearer to the lobby that we are a problem.
All they have to do is hold on. If Acorn falls, that's it. It's over. Acorn does have a knock on the opposite side of it. We've seen Durola then get picked up from Sescript. So this is a 1v1 against Npen. The biggest thing is he doesn't want to give up the supplies from his teammate. He has to win the 1v1, potentially look to maybe get the card, get the reboot. But you see, his resources are completely vanished, and so is his HP bar. He'll try and drink his 1 mini, but no time, so he's going to expand the builds out, try and make himself look big, make himself look scary, but it's all a mirage, and you close in on it. He's trying to find the oasis, but at the end of the day, it looks like it is just a barren desert, and Npen is trying to put an end to the miracle run here.
Definitely, and it's time to fight back here. Look, he is relentless with it. He finds Acorn on this low ground, and this is a big opportunity now for Npen to go ahead and shut down the number 2 team. Kanata and Agers are already out, and honestly, if you're Kanata and Agers, you do not want second place out. You do not want what is left of 4th out of the tournament, because that means the standings are up for grabs. That means our top 10 teams have a chance to go ahead and snipe it all up. If the points don't get funneled upwards towards these teams, your honestly prizing is gone. Like, it is definitely up in the air, and someone will take it. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and we've seen every single time we've looked at the leaderboard.
Oh no!
We're in that top 3, it could be enough. The full gold medal,
no.
A little bit of a slide. 2 last ticket, it doesn't get in. Acorn and Edgy are down. Kanata and Agers are down. Peterbot and Byla are still up on their feet, and at this point, they've looked around. That should be it, unless Bugha and Miro do something absurd and clean up absolutely everybody, and Peterbot and Byla go down. That's the only shot, and at this point, I know it's a meme, there's not even a chance. Look at the point difference. Look at the point difference. 64 points separating them. Peterbot, Byla are right at the finish line. They're trying to just stick their chest out and break that tape.
This is it. It's the victory lap at the end of the day right now. But like we said before, there is money on the line. And no way, not Joji, not Rokane as well. They're under some serious hurt right now. Rokane's out. The pressure from the lobby was too much. And we're seeing another team collapse in the last game. It is so worrisome to see how much tournament prizing is now available.
And particularly for Joji and Rokane. Joji has been fantastic this season, but Rokane has been on another level. The solo clutches, the individual efforts to even get them here, all happened by Rokane. Now the pressure is on Joji. What can he do to get them a better finish? What can he do to get them a better payday, to move them up the leaderboard as a solo? But want to know who's looking at all this and being like, hey, this is pretty nice. Cold and Walltaker, they're going to continue to try and climb up the leaderboard. Second is very much in their grasp. Same with Bugha and Miro, as they're both sitting in 4th and 5th right now, but 2nd and 3rd are down.
Definitely, they're down and out. And, you know, this really allows us to take a look at the bigger picture from the outside, right? There is so much on the line. It's not just winning the tournament. It's what's on the line for the other teams that are still proving themselves to the region that they are incredible at Fortnite. They still continue to have what it takes to compete at the top, a second, a third, a fourth in the FNCS finals of NA East's. No easy feat. We have seen an exceptional day of competition, and this is why it is so important that we celebrate all of our players still battling it out.
And again, don't forget, we had a pretty big announcement this morning going through. The FNCS Invitational in November. You know that's in the back of all of these players' minds, being like, hey, they're looking at the top duos. What can I do to put my name in there, to stick a flag in that stake saying, hey, why am I not invited? Joji could put a question mark in there right now if he's able to put up the individual efforts. What are they going to be able to do?
But he's 138 below here. It's all or nothing now. He has to fight back. It's not looking good. The lobby starts to focus in. It's those fresh walls. They're, again, this is like blood in the water to the big fish in the sea here. You can't have fresh walls being built up, especially when the surge is active. You know players are looking for these opportunities. Josie has to do something big now. He's got the ammo. He's got the heals. He's definitely got the weapon to do everything that he needs to, but he's going to have to commit here.
First placement threshold has been passed. Everyone in the lobby gets 1 point. One who's still on their feet, Peterbot and Byla. That maybe miracle run is closing every time. And like I said, I've basically called it, but what else can they do? As Joji is now holding the 8th place team. This is 6 versus 8 with Avery and Muzz, the OCE Warrior representative, trying to do more. Pamsto goes down. Batch goes down. 7th is out. 6 is out. And all this for the taking right now. Muzz and Avery can do a bunch. Bugha and Miro can do a bunch. Walltaker and Colt can push themselves up. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are all on the line, all on the table. Who will grab the opportunity?
6 is on the table, 7th is on the table. I mean, we're talking about all the other additional spots here. Teams that are on the bubble can literally pop off and earn so much money. Very rarely does it ever happen this way, where so many of the top 10 teams fall in the last game, and the standings are close enough for players to really jump on up and make that hero effort at the very, very end. Meanwhile, Bugha and Miro, though, still fighting for this one right here. 3 Elans now. They are in 3rd place. They want 2nd at least. They want to fight for 1st, but we know what's on the line. There's so much here.
The fight for 1st is over. I'm calling it right now. Peterbot and Byla are your NA East champions for Chapter 3 Season 2. They're in the cascading placement points. Even if Miro and Bugha eliminated the entirety rest of the lobby and won the match, it would not be enough. Well, it would, but it's not going to happen, as now they're trying to just climb up into it. As Peterbot gets another one, he's putting his statement down. The foot is down. The trophy's on the shelf. They've kicked the step stool away, and they're jumping out with a Sioux. Doing everything they can. Pamsto and Batch, we're going to see how they went down, trying to dive in. Pamsto, oh, it's so close.
Clarity G claps back, he fights back as we get to jump in with our FNCS champions to be. Peterbot and Byla are here. They're feeling it, and you can just tell they're sitting in the box feeling so good as the zone starts to favor them. Can they actually pull off the victory lap? At this point, let's go ahead and see how much they can do in that last game, because the floor is yours, my friends. You have earned it. They have played so well over this weekend. Honestly, almost a perfect set of Fortnite on that day 1 and a great day 2 now.
But Bugha and Miro have already pushed themselves into 3rd. Just a couple more points, they'll be able to take 2nd away. Avery looks for the jump shot, doesn't end up taking it. Will hit the pad, but the shots rain down from above. He needs to hold on, needs to find some space. 19 builds, needs to get the walls up, but it's all wood, and does he have enough space? If somebody opens up an edit, that would be disastrous. Tail right on the other side. Larson taking the sky. Macwood and Donnie trying to get their name in the conversation.
And look, at Peterbot and Byla are poising up for that 2nd position to height. You know they're going to try to do something so big in the end. Can Miro and Bugha find a little bit more points, though? It's starting to close in here now. The last game, the last win. Everyone will talk about it. We all know that it's possible, but it's a race here for 2nd right now. Walltaker and Cold, Miro and Bugha, they're both trying to do it here. The points are very close. This is a lot on the line here.
There's 8 points separating, but the team in third has been dropped out. Bugha and Miro have moved into second place, but can they hold it now? As Walltaker and Cold are trying to do everything they can to pull it away from them. The placement points keep ticking over. Pledge gets Bila. There might not be a full victory lap. As you can see there, Bila actually ends up trading it back over. They went down trying to get the eliminations going through. It's all she wrote for the #1 spot, but now we have a battle for second as Peterbot is trying to repeat his game 1 performance to have a ridiculous solo clutch, but again, ain't nobody catching Mr. Peter here. As you can see, User trying to find some shots on the side. Yamzo and Degen are putting the pressure on him, and Cold and Scented finding shots towards the backside. A great shot on the low ground and a even better cutoff.
I love the cutoff there. There was definitely a chance to go out and open that edit, but they played for the positioning instead, saying that it's smarter for us to just stay alive right now. And take a look here. Peterbot is down. That is it. The fight for second is on here. Bugha and Miro are still up right now. Scented and Cold are in the final stretch now as well. 3 elims separate that. Make it 4 because Bugha finds one up top. They're starting to break away. That's on Yamzo. A heartbreak for Yamzo as well, who was closing in on that top 5th. But now, Degen has to do it by himself. Well, let's go ahead and focus on the low ground now. Scented is going crazy. Walltaker slides in. They find another one. Nicely done there. Cold won't get the full finish. And it's all unfolding here. And now,
Miro down, Bugha down. They could take away second. They're in third right now, using the splashes, using everything they can. The battle for second is on. There's leaderboard implications all over the board as Degen is trying to hold on to a 7th place spot, but we're keeping eyes on Cold and Walltaker. A couple elims, a couple more placement points, and they will rip that 2nd place away from Bugha and Miro. They've already pushed themselves into 3rd, but Chimp is trying to get himself into the top 10 with a great shot there on the TK. Hey, and we got some solo riders running around. There's some plays to be made here.
A lot of plays to be made, a lot of points to be picked up here. Chimp slides around the side. He has broken into that top 10, but one more elim will do enough to solidify it. Meanwhile, a shot from the back. It's Cold. It's a wintertime play here. What can he do? There goes the edit. No, nicely done. Chimp's hurt. Back against the wall. Turns around. He is just too good. He's quick on his feet. The Siphon's going to keep him up now. 41 HP. Minis in hand. But do you play for the fight or do you go for the heal?
He has to tick over at least one more placement.
This is for second.
2v1v2. This is for 2nd place right now. What can Cold do? The redemption run from the performance last episode. He's stepping back.
He knows it! He
finds it! Cold rips away 2nd place from Bugha and Miro. Donnie and Mac would put themselves into the top 20 with the finish. But the story, Peterbot and Bila in 1st, and the fight for 2nd, and the young gun, 33 Cold, says hop on my back, run into the zone, and hits the monstrous striker pump shot to get him a huge payday.
And take a look at it one more time from the bird's eye view. Cold secures the 2nd with a huge elimination there. Donnie and Mac would get to close the tournament out with a nice victory royale finish from the height in clean fashion. The veterans at least get to put one big strike on the board there. And that, my friends, was the NAE's finals. What an exceptional set of 12 games there we had.
And I love how we started the story of NAE's all the way back in Qualifier 1. It was, hey, high ground runs it out, but it's the story of the individual efforts. And that's what we saw. And you were talking about New Era the entire time. Cold making huge plays. Donnie making huge plays. Peterbot and Bila champs. This is nuts.
This is definitely something we did not expect to unfold. But that's going to be wraps from myself, Monster D-Face. And now for now, we'll see you guys in a bit. The stage is yours, my friends.
Oh, that is how you round out FNCS NAE. That one elimination at the end there. The difference between 2nd and 3rd place. SBG, we could not have asked for a better way to finish this thing off.
No, we could not, but we have to give the winners their moment.
We have
and Bila officially your
count.
FNCS champions. You love to see it. A rough day too, but hey, that was the most incredible day 1. And then they were just hanging out, dancing it out like you were earlier, enjoying the victory because they knew they had it. Congratulations to them.
Peterbot and Bio, listen, this is an incredible feeling. We talk about it all the time. Our Fortnite competition has come such a long way. The level at which these players play at is exceptional. It is the highest that has ever been. And Peterbot and Bio showing up, showing out during a finals of an FNCS on the NA East region. Congratulations. And listen, you mentioned it. Dancing in the they knew. They knew.
I mean, absolutely extraordinary. I think if I've got my information correct here as well, I think the third team to retain first place from day 1 into day 2 now across FNCS, FNAE, which is incredible.
There
stuff.
it is.
So,
look at them.
We can see the dance there, and it's totally justified because it has been an incredible display from this team as well. We've obviously talked a lot about Peterbot and Viola in the past as well, and to see them now breaking Mira and Booga's streak as well, those back-to-back wins. We have new FNCS champions. Incredible, 343 points here, 48 eliminations. 48!
Incredible.
With the lobby like this, the caliber like this, and fellas, we're back to what an incredible. Thank you so much for making that, bringing that to life for us.
I mean, it was an amazing performance, and one of the biggest things, 48 eliminations. We saw Peterbot was at least 35 of those, so another individual performance by him. That's just absurd, actually absurd.
And honestly, I just want to say hats off to, of course, the players. At the end of the day, this wouldn't have been such a great finals if it wasn't for you guys showing up and putting up the great numbers. Not only that, the